My boyfriend got a recommendation for graduate school but chose to drop out. I urged him to stay and continue his studies. After graduation, we both joined a top 100 company and advanced in our careers. The day his parents passed away, he pulled me away from my desk and took me home. If it weren't for your support in sending Moran to school, she would have stayed at home, and the gas leak would have gone unnoticed. He ignored my pregnancy and beat me up, causing the death of both me and my unborn child. When I opened my eyes again, I had been reborn. I was reborn on the day my boyfriend told me he was planning to drop out of school. 1. I'm planning to drop out of school. Hearing Mo Xing's words, I instinctively touched my flat stomach. In my previous life, I was greatly shocked when I heard my boyfriend was planning to drop out of school. Mo Xing excelled academically and participated in various activities and competitions during his time at school, making him highly likely to receive a recommendation for postgraduate studies. However, he chose to drop out in the second semester of his junior year. After inquiring about the reason, my boyfriend said that the family couldn't afford to support both children through school and planned to have his sister, Mo Lan, drop out and get married. His sister called him and cried. And after much thought, he felt that girls shouldn't be denied an education, so he decided to drop out and work to support his sister. In my past life, after hearing this, I couldn't bear to see my boyfriend give up his studies and drop out to work. I chose to use the living expenses I had saved and the money I earned from part-time jobs to sponsor Moran's education. My boyfriend and I graduated smoothly, entered a top 100 company, advanced in our careers, and had a happy marriage. After marriage, he would always tell me with a face, "Thank you, Ayun, I'm glad I listened to you and didn't drop out of school," which led to my current education and job. Moran also did well and got into college, but after I got pregnant, on the day his parents died from a gas leak, he dragged me back home from my workstation. If it weren't for you sponsoring Moran's education, she would have stayed at home, and no one would have noticed the gas leak. He locked the doors and windows, keeping me confined in the house without food or water. I was 6 months pregnant, beaten and kicked by him, resulting in both my death and the baby's. 2. Ayun, why are you spacing out? I said I planned to drop out of school. Mo Xing saw me lost in thought and thought I hadn't heard, so he repeated himself. I came to my senses and met his expectant eyes, replying calmly, "This is your own matter, you decide for yourself." I was too calm, which made Mo Xing uneasy. He clearly hadn't expected this reaction from me. He composed himself and said in shock, "Don't you even care to ask why?" Immediately guilt-tripped me. "We're a couple, and I always care about you whenever something happens. Now that I've mentioned dropping out, you don't even ask a single question. I'm upset. If it were before, I would definitely have felt embarrassed by what he said and just went along with him. This time, I didn't follow the usual script. You never liked me asking too many questions when you made decisions before, and since you're willing to tell me, it must be a decision you've thought through carefully. I respect your choice. I thought in this life, without me interfering with his decision to drop out, he would submit the application without hesitation." To my surprise, Mo Xing suddenly stood up, his tone displeased. "What will you do now that I've dropped out?" His movement was noticeable, drawing the attention of those around him. I frowned, not wanting to continue the conversation, and prepared to leave with my handbag. In my past life, Mo Xing and I would mostly go Dutch on our dates. Today, I finally managed to get a reservation at this upscale restaurant, but as soon as I sat down, the news of Mo Xing dropping out ruined my appetite. Convinced by his words, I saved the meal money and went straight to the bank to transfer it to his parents. Now that I've been given a second chance, just looking at Mo Xing's face makes me lose my appetite again. As I was about to leave, Mo Xing grabbed my arm. "Ayun, I know you're upset about me dropping out, but I had no choice. You know how much worse off my family is compared to yours. To support my education and make me worthy of you, my parents were planning to have Lan drop out of school and get married. You always say that girls should go to school, and I think you're right. Lan can't afford not to study, but our family couldn't afford to support both children, so I had to drop out and work to support Lan's education." I couldn't help but laugh in anger. How nice the words sounded. Was he studying just to match me? Did this older brother choose to drop out and support his sister's education because I said women should study? It's all on me, good or bad. 3. Just as I was about to shake off Mo Xing, his phone rang. The unique ringtone made it immediately clear who was calling. The Mo siblings were close, And as soon as Mo Xing got a phone, Mo Lan pestered him into setting a personalized ringtone. Mo Xing didn't bother to argue with me as he received a call from his sister, intentionally putting it on speaker with a gentle tone. Lan Lan. As soon as the call connected, Mo Lan's soft voice came through the speaker. It stood out sharply against the elegant piano music in the restaurant. Brother. I want to go to school, I don't want to get married, this should be a sad matter. But Moran's voice showed no trace of urgency, each word seemed to twist and turn 18 times. Lan Lan, I won't let you get married, I'll submit an application to the school tomorrow, drop out of school, and work to support your education. Moran on the other side seemed a bit dissatisfied. If you drop out, what about Sister Song? What if she can't bear to part with you and doesn't want you to drop out? Otherwise, I might as well get married, you can use the betrothal gifts to pay for your studies and live well with Sister Song. I couldn't help but roll my eyes and interrupt her. You're overthinking it, I broke up with your brother, and whatever decisions he makes are no longer my concern. If he wants to drop out, he can. If you want to get married, go ahead, don't drag me into everything. Moran didn't expect me to be there, and she was a bit embarrassed. Sister Song, you're here. Why did you break up with my brother? Are you upset that he dropped out of school and left you alone there? I'm going to get married and persuade my brother not to drop out. Sister Song, please don't break up because of me. Before she could finish, Mo Xing gently interrupted her. It seemed he was afraid Moran might actually agree to get married, so he immediately promised to drop out of school tomorrow. Alright, Lan Lan. Don't say things in anger. Our school usually processes things pretty quickly. I'll start working next week to support Lanlan's education. And I with Song Yun. I stopped listening to the conversation between the Mo siblings because a waiter came over to ask something. It turned out that Mo Xing was playing a phone call out loud in the restaurant, with the volume so high that it was disrupting other diners' experience. I flatly denied that Mo Xing was someone I brought along. Before the Mo siblings could finish their phone call, Mo Xing was asked to leave by the waiter. With the peace restored, I leisurely opened the menu, ready to enjoy the meal I had missed. The next day was Monday, and I went to the office to submit my materials. To my surprise, I saw Mo Xing sitting across from the counselor. I handed the materials to the teacher without looking around, but as soon as I stepped out, someone grabbed me from behind. I thought that without me intervening, Mo Xing would simply submit an application to leave school. I didn't expect his next words to completely change my perception of him. Yun, I know you don't want to let me go. I thought about it again yesterday, and since your family is quite wealthy, why don't you sponsor Lan Lan's education? I never expected him to be so shameless, so I immediately refused him. My family's financial situation is indeed quite good. I have a monthly living allowance of 10,000 yuan. Additionally, I've been learning painting since I was young, and I occasionally take on commercial illustration work, including various competition prizes, over the 3 years of university. Not counting the company dividends in my account, my personal funds were enough to support Moran from middle school through college. In my previous life, I really did that, following Mo Xing's advice, and used all my personal money to support Moran. Hundreds of thousands of dollars are enough for a family to support 2 children's education and live a good life. Moreover, in my previous life, I was lured by Mo Xing and kept sending money to the Mo family. With my support, the Mo family's standard of living in the small town skyrocketed. Not only did they pay in full for a car, but they also bought an apartment in the city. Moran also started wearing all sorts of luxury brands. Her grades didn't improve much, but she dressed more and more flamboyantly. In the end, she bribed her way into the best high school with excellent faculty, managing to push her grades just above the undergraduate admission line. After the college entrance exam, Moran was determined to apply to universities in Kyoto, and her doting brother Mo Xing naturally agreed. Kyoto is 2 hours away by plane from the city where the Mo family resides. Moling was worried about a girl traveling alone, so he made me, despite having a high fever, go home to bring her to Beijing. Moling complained about the poor dormitory conditions at school, and Moing even gave her the we bought together in Kyoto to live in. On the day Moing locked me at home and beat me to death, Moling sat in the living room, eating the fruit platter Moing had prepared, enjoying my screams. Yun, I never expected you to be so cold-hearted. How could you bear to watch Lan Lan, so young, get married off? Aren't we a couple? Shouldn't we help each other? We're going to be family in the future, so why be so strict about money matters? And my academic advisor told me again that based on my performance, securing a postgraduate recommendation is almost certain. Once I graduate with my master's and start working, making money will be easy, and I'll definitely pay you back." I laughed. So, he was persuaded by the advisor and backed down. It turns out he also knows he's about to get a postgraduate recommendation. I would rather choose to continue my studies than drop out. In my previous life, my interference was merely going with the flow. Classmate moxing, "We've already broken up. I never had the obligation to support your family. I don't want to hear about your family matters. If you keep bothering me, the office is right next door, and I'll call for help." Emo Xing's expression turned stern, but he finally loosened his grip on my shoulder, clearly afraid I might call the teacher. 5. In my previous life, I was married to Emo Xing for 5 years and knew the nature of their family very well. Emo Xing's parents wouldn't be willing to continue supporting 2 children, and Emo Xing wouldn't easily choose to drop out of school. Since he had already thought of asking me to fund Moran, he wouldn't give up easily. However, there's an upcoming competition, and I don't have time to deal with him. I need to focus on preparing for it. In my previous life, I didn't participate in this competition because I was helping Mo Xing manage family affairs, which resulted in a slightly lower GPA, and I missed out on the chance for postgraduate recommendation. During my senior year, the Mo siblings interfered with various excuses, and I didn't even apply. After working for a year and moving into the company dormitory, I was finally able to focus on preparing for the postgraduate entrance exam and eventually got into my dream school. On my way back from the library, I overheard my roommates talking about Emo Xing. "Yun, you're back." Lin Feng knew I was preparing for a competition recently and was afraid that talking about this would affect my mood, so she quickly ended the conversation. Chi leaned in close to me and said loudly, "Song Yun, is Emo Xing your partner? His sister came to school today. She's really pretty. No wonder they're siblings. The brother is handsome, and the sister is just as beautiful." Hearing this, I looked at Chi with a half smile. In my previous life, I only found out they weren't really siblings until I was pregnant. Emo Lan was clearly his family's child bride, but they both are indeed good looking. Otherwise I wouldn't have been blind enough to agree to Emo Xing's pursuit. Emo Xing wouldn't have dropped out for Emo Lan's sake. What partner? As their roommate, you should know better than anyone else that they'd broken up. Shut up. Lin Feng quickly covered Chi-Chi's mouth. Chi-Chi kept gossiping about Emo Xing even with his mouth covered. "I heard his sister is here to get him to drop out." "Hey, Song Yun, are you going to miss him if he leaves?" I had a vague feeling that Chi-Chi was a bit off. Our dorm relationships have always been great, but we never pry into each other's privacy. I had already told them about the breakup, and Chi-Chi didn't pay much attention to it before. Why is she asking so much about it today? I didn't think too much about it and just briefly mentioned our breakup. For privacy reasons, I omitted the details about Emo Xing's family and only said that we had differing views and it was exhausting to talk. I also told Chi-Chi not to bring me and Emo Xing together anymore. 6. I thought Moran would come to the school in person, and Emo Xing would submit the application, and they would leave the school soon. To my surprise, the first thing to arrive was the rumor about me being money-grubbing. Occasionally, I could feel glances from around me in the library in the morning, and on the way back to the dorm at noon, I always saw small groups of people pointing at me from a distance. Back in the dorm, Chi-Chi was not there. Lin Feng pulled me in and quickly locked the door. As Lin Feng watched me carrying books with an air of nonchalance, she couldn't help but speak up. Yun. Are you just going to let them spread rumors?" I looked at her with confusion, and seeing my lack of action, Lin Feng dragged her chair over to sit beside me. Following her lead, I glanced at my phone and realized the big group chat had exploded this morning. Wushan posted a little essay in the group chat. I tried to hold back, but I just can't help but bring this up with everyone. Some girls are truly selfish and extremely materialistic. My friend pursued her for half a year during his freshman year, spending over 10,000 yuan in total. They dated for over 2 years, with him bringing her breakfast every day, paying for meals, and basically taking her to all the competitions and activities, only to have her take the credit. Every date had to be on her terms, and she constantly demanded gifts for no reason. Now that my friend's family is facing financial difficulties, not only is she unwilling to help, she doesn't even offer any comfort, and she just dumped him outright. Wushan is Mohan's roommate, and he mentioned dropping out in his message. The incident when Mohan's sister came to school even made it to the confession wall, so everyone knows about his decision to drop out. One of the main characters in the short essay has been identified. and the remaining gold digger must be referring to me. A bunch of people in the group are comforting Mohan, calling me a gold digger and a manipulative woman. Although there are some clear-headed individuals, the sheer number of onlookers means the news spread across the entire school within a morning. They were cursing so harshly that Lin Feng, being hot-tempered, started trading insults with them in the group chat. I didn't realize Mo Xing was such a person. Yun Yun, you really made a blind choice dating him. As I listened to her defending me, I stopped her frantic typing and told her I was prepared. Mo Xing didn't know that my family had always made me keep a record of every penny I spent to prevent me from overspending. During our relationship, I habitually kept records of every expense. I also recorded the conversation outside the office that day. This is enough to turn public opinion around. 7. I spent half an hour organizing the spending records from our relationship, along with recordings, and uploaded them to the school forum. While organizing, I also found some unexpected surprises, which I included in the post. My account is highly active on the forum due to frequently posting experience threads, so the post quickly gained traction and was pushed to the top. The post directly addressed each of Wushan's essays in the group chat, responding to every point. Mo Xing brings me breakfast every day, which is the widely acknowledged terrible baozi from the second canteen that costs 1 yuan each. While the money I give him for breakfast is 20 yuan daily, the so-called meals where Mo Xing pays are only in the canteen. In reality, Mo Xing and I eat at the canteen for at most half a semester. The rest of the time, we eat outside. Since it was my suggestion, I pay. Competitions and activities are even more absurd. Apart from asking Mo Xing to conveniently deliver some documents for me in our sophomore year, he probably doesn't even know what activities I participated in. As for dates and gifts, it was all left to me because Mo Xing said he rarely went out and didn't know what to do with me. The bulk of the expenses were also on me. In nearly 3 years of dating, the only gifts Mo Xing gave me were handwritten letters and trinkets from the $2 store. Instead, I carefully prepared gifts for every holiday and even gave quite a few things to his parents and Mo Lan. The amount in my payment records far exceeds everyone's imagination. A simple date alone costs over 1,000. Over the past 2 years, I've spent nearly 100,000 on the two of us. That's not all that has my fellow students buzzing. My post also dropped a new bombshell. I'm directly calling out Mo Xing to pay me back. Mo Xing, a freshman, didn't have 10,000 yuan to spare for chasing girls. It was all borrowed from his friends outside of school. After he started dating me, he couldn't repay the money and asked me to cover it for him, including when his parents were sick and Mo Lan needed money for her studies. Whenever he asked, I would transfer money to him. Altogether, it added up to nearly 100,000 yuan. At the end of the post, a chat screenshot was attached. Zhang Shan, a friend from outside the school who borrowed money from Mo Xing during freshman year, just messaged me again asking for money. It turns out that Mo Lan's parents have stopped her allowance, and she used her last money to buy a ticket to Kyoto. Mo Xing didn't want to use his own living expenses to rent a hotel for Mo Lan, so he borrowed money from Zhang Shan, and just like before, he asked Zhang Shan to come to me for repayment. A few days ago, Moran appeared on the school's confession wall, and many people posted photos of Moing taking care of her in various ways, expressing their envy of Moran having a caring older brother. Now that I've learned he wasn't even willing to pay for a hotel for his sister, asking others for money and even making his ex-girlfriend repay it, it's truly disgusting. Borrowing money and not repaying it is a major red flag for many people. Adding to this, Moing's self-important and greasy remarks in the recording when he asked me to fund Moran's education completely shattered his image in the eyes of many female students at the school. My image with Mo Xing suddenly reversed, and many replies were tagging Mo Xing, with many people projecting themselves onto me and Zhang Shan, harshly condemning Mo Xing's actions. Mo Xing's reputation at school was completely ruined. As soon as the process for his withdrawal was completed, he immediately packed up and left the school. 8. Chi-Chi suddenly suggested having a picnic in the park this weekend. It has been raining non-stop recently, so the weekend promises to be a rare fine day, with the competition preparations almost done. I agreed to go for a picnic to breathe some fresh air. The picnic went smoothly, but as the three of us walked back to school arm in arm, we unexpectedly ran into someone. Mo Xing's parents actually came to the school. In my previous life, because I sent money promptly, I didn't meet his parents until just before I married Mo Xing. With gentle eyes and a simple smile, they fit the stereotype of kind and honest people. Except for that one time when they didn't let me divorce Mo Xing. The elders treated me very well, and I never experienced the typical bad mother-in-law and daughter-in-law relationship. This time when I saw them, I realized how well they had acted in their previous lives. Are you Song Yun? Mo's mother stopped me, her expression hostile. I didn't want to deal with them, and wanted to leave with Lin Feng, but Chi stopped. Song Yun, Auntie is looking for you, don't leave, it's impolite. Having confirmed that I was the one they were looking for, Mo's parents forcibly grabbed me. You filthy bitch, you cheated my son out of his money and now you want to run. Come, go home with us, since you've spent our Mo family's money, you're our Mo family's daughter-in-law, come back with us to get married. I was shocked by their words and quickly pulled away from Mo's dad, who was trying to take advantage of me while grabbing me. Lin Feng also came over to help me pull away from Mo's mom, who was pinching me. With a crowd around, Mo's parents, seeing that force wouldn't work, exchanged glances and then threw themselves onto the ground, wailing loudly, "Oh dear, come and see, college students are bullying the elderly, such a good girl, with hands and feet, not going out to work and make money, but relying on a man to support her. She's drained all my son's money, now our family can't even afford to eat, and my son had to drop out of school to work. Since the beginning of my freshman year, my living expenses at school have been decent, and many people know that my family is well off. The rumor about me being materialistic only started because not many people knew about Mo Xing's background. After reading Wu Shan's essay, people subconsciously assumed Mo Xing was wealthy, which is why I stayed with him for so long and got quite a bit of money, thanks to the last rumor. Mo Xing's routine of borrowing money was exposed, and few believed what Mo's parents said. Many people felt uncomfortable with this family's behavior and began to curse at Mo's parents. Surprisingly, Chi stood on the side of Mo's parents. Song Yun, what the elders said isn't wrong. If you hadn't spent his money, why would they have come all the way to the school to catch you? Look at your arm, it's all bruised. If I were you, I'd just go back with them. Mo's parents initially felt a bit shaky under the crowd's criticism, but hearing Chi-Chi's words, their confidence surged. And they started yelling at me even more fiercely. I said, "Why did you suddenly want to have a picnic today? Did you plan with them to ambush me outside the school?" I just wanted to surprise her. Due to the competition, I hadn't left the school for a month, and as soon as I stepped out today, I ran into this mess. Chi-Chi's face turned pale with panic, as he kept explaining, trying to steer the conversation back to me and the Mo family. Mo's mother, who had been sitting on the ground, suddenly sprang up, grabbed me as I was moving toward Chi-Chi, and slapped me across the face before anyone could react. Lin Feng had been standing beside me the whole time, having trained in martial arts since childhood. She reacted swiftly, seizing Mo's mother's arm and easily subduing her. Seeing her formidable strength, Mo's father hesitated, dawdling on the sidelines and not daring to rescue his wife from her grasp. "Bitch, my son Xingxing said you spend hundreds on a single meal. It's better to use that money to send Lan Lan to school. Once she graduates and starts earning, she'll pay you back. Girls are just wasteful. You should hand all your money over to my son Xingxing to manage, so you don't spend it all over the place." Mo's mother's words brought back memories of my previous life after marrying Mo Xing. In my previous life, Mo's mother also urged me to give my money to Mo Xing, but she spoke more tactfully, acting like the perfect mother-in-law. And I ended up handing over all my cards to Mo Xing without much thought. I even wanted to transfer my company shares to him, but when my parents stopped me, I had a big argument with them, and it ended up unresolved. During that time, my father wasn't in good health, and I ended up making him so angry that he had to go back to the hospital. I was sulking and deliberately avoided seeing them. Under Mo Xing's influence, I also blocked my parents' contact information. Until I was beaten to death by Mo Xing, I never saw them again. Although my parents insisted on keeping the shares, the dividends that came to me were transferred to Mo Xing. I lived off the monthly allowance given by Mo Xing, yet I foolishly felt happy. Enraged, I took Mo's mother from Lin Feng's hands and started beating her wildly, pulling her hair. Although Lin Feng didn't know what was going on with me, she still stood by my side to protect me in case Mo's dad made a move. Seeing this, the onlookers dispersed. In their eyes, the Mo family had already become a mad dog that bites anyone, and no one knew if stepping in to mediate would result in being scammed by the Mo's. No one wanted to get involved. When Chi saw me hitting someone, she took out her phone to call, but Lin Feng swiftly stepped over and snatched her phone away. Fearing Lin Feng's strength, Chi-Chi dared not play any tricks and watched me land punch after punch with trepidation, even in the depths of my rage. I still retained a shred of reason and held back my blows. By the time Mo Xing emerged from some obscure corner, I had already stopped. It's no wonder Mo's parents are so good at finding places. The spot where I acted is a blind spot for surveillance. The only surveillance camera facing the area is also blocked by the bushes, making it impossible to see what's inside. Afraid that Mohan might say something else to hurt my ears, I quickly pulled Lin Feng away. Chi-Chi hesitated for a moment but decided to follow us. However, neither Lin Feng nor I wanted to talk to her. 9. I heard about Mo Xing again on the eve of the competition. As I was packing my luggage in the dorm, Chi-Chi was talking to herself while doing her makeup. Lin Feng had to take a week off due to a family matter. It was just Chi-Chi and me in the dorm, and I gave her a strange look. Since the incident outside of school, the dynamics in our dorm have changed. I submitted a day student application. And Lin Feng also submitted a request to change dormitories. Chi-Chi seemed oblivious to our disinterest in engaging with her, occasionally chiming in to assert her presence. Song Yun, do you know what Mo Xing has been up to since he dropped out? With that, she turned to face me. It's obvious he didn't finish college. What decent job could he possibly find in Beijing, unless he goes back to their hometown county with Moran? I zipped up my suitcase and didn't say a word. He's working at that electronics factory near the school, tightening screws. I ran into him yesterday and barely recognized him. My phone vibrated. It was the teacher notifying us that the car had arrived. As Chi-Chi chattered on about Mo Xing, I smiled faintly and pulled my suitcase out of the dorm. At the stairwell, I remembered I had forgotten to grab something I promised to bring for a classmate, so I went back. The dorm door was slightly ajar, and I could hear Chi-Chi's voice inside, likely on a phone call. TCH, what's with the act? So what if you've got a bit of money, you throw your weight around the dorm every day, only Lin Feng is willing to fawn over you, calling you Yun Yun with such familiarity. My hand paused on the door handle. I was shocked to learn that Chi-Chi, who was always polite and cheerful with everyone, had such a view of me in private. Yet, it also felt somewhat expected. Oh, don't worry, Mo Xing, I'm the only one in the dorm this week, so I'll definitely get your stuff out for you. Song Yun has so many things, a few missing wouldn't be noticed, but you, I haven't seen you around lately. You must have been through a lot at the factory. It's all Song Yun's fault, she's so rich. She could easily solve your problem with just a flick of her wrist, yet she had to force you to drop out. Turns out she hooked up with Mo Xing at some point. No wonder she sided with Mo's parents last time. But wait for Mo Xing to come looking for her. As long as Mo Lan stays, Mo Xing won't leave his beautiful fiancée at home and come all the way to school to look for Chi-Chi. At this point, I pushed open the dorm door with a bang. Chi-Chi was caught off guard by my sudden return. Fumbling to hang up the phone and blurting out first, "How dare you eavesdrop on someone else's phone call?" I rolled my eyes, grabbed my stuff, and left the room. Just stuff everything on the desk into the cabinet and lock it up. Fortunately, their dormitory is in a new building, so the cabinet space is sufficient. All the way until I went downstairs, I could still hear Chi-Chi shouting and cursing. 10. The competition is in the neighboring city, and the school is covering our round-trip high-speed train tickets. The quickest route from the school to the high-speed train station passes by the electronics factory where Mo Xing works. It's nighttime, and there are hardly any people on the sidewalk. I spotted the Mo siblings, who were walking hand in hand across the street, completely oblivious to the world as they embraced and kissed passionately. Is the debt of a past life, where 2 lives were lost, really repaid just by expelling them from school? Impossible. Leaning against the window, I pondered how to make them pay, my peripheral vision catching the affectionate couple, and an idea struck me. As the car rounded the corner, I spotted Chi-Chi just getting off the car behind us. I glanced at the positions of the 3 and curved my lips in a smile. 11. The competition went smoothly, and our team won first place. With the points from this competition, my GPA is high enough to apply for postgraduate recommendation. Feeling cheerful, I picked up my phone and dialed the emergency number. Thanks to Mo Xing having me send him a lot of things, I still have his hometown address saved on my phone. Mo Lan is only in the first year of middle school now. Although she started school late, she's not yet 14. The concept of a child bride. If it weren't for my previous life where I witnessed their intimacy, their fight for divorce, and Mo Xing's mother both persuading and threatening me, telling me outright that Mo Lan was a child bride, I would never have even considered this possibility, even if it meant dying. after discovering their affair, Mo's parents rushed from the county town overnight to persuade me. Considering the child and with the elderly threatening to take their own lives, I chose to endure. Half a month later, Mo Xing took leave and returned to his hometown. The day after he returned, the healthy parents of the Mo family suddenly passed away, reportedly due to a gas leak. Mo Xing, who had always been filial, did not return home to handle the funeral arrangements for 3 full days from the moment he heard the news until he killed me, showing no signs of grief at all. A chill ran through me, and I dared not think further. As soon as the call connected, I quickly relayed the information I had to the other side. 12. It was already evening when I got back to the dorm. Chi-Chi hasn't messaged me these past few days because of what happened before we left. She somehow found out when we were returning to school and messaged me in the afternoon. She said a friend from another city was coming to visit her, and she wasn't sure if she could be back before me, so she left a key at the usual spot. I couldn't be bothered to dig through my bag, so I fished out the key from the hallway windowsill and opened the door. As soon as I turned on the light, I noticed something was off. Lin Feng's desk was much messier than when I left. The clothes hanging on the balcony were all wrinkled. I frowned, assuming Chi-Chi was the one who did it. As I approached my bed, I heard a sound coming from above, though faint. The sounds were amplified in the dorm where all the beds were connected. I stayed alert, clutching my phone, and tapped on the bed frame. Lin Feng, is that you? Why are you in bed? Are you feeling unwell? Not getting a response. I became even more uneasy. Perhaps it was a sixth sense, but I slowly moved towards the door. After putting some distance between me and the bed, I bolted. The bathroom door suddenly opened, and a strange man emerged. He tried to hold me back. The instinct of survival gave me the strength to break free. The man probably didn't expect that the seemingly delicate me would suddenly burst with such force, and he was caught off guard and let me escape. I heard movement from the bed behind me. There was indeed someone on it. Without looking back, I ran out the door. While the man hadn't chased me out yet, I bolted the door from the outside and shouted for help to attract people from the surrounding dorms. It was quite late when I got back, but luckily there were still many night owls around. In no time, half the floor had gathered at our dorm door. People from upstairs and downstairs, hearing the noise, were rushing over. I was so scared that my hands were shaking, and it took me a while to dial the counselor's number. A man trapped in the dormitory was frantically banging on the door. He probably knew that trespassing into the girls' dormitory was illegal, so he dared not make a sound, just frantically banging on the door. The people gathering around were also a bit scared by the banging, asking each other what was happening. The commotion inside soon stopped, but no one dared to open the door. The dorm manager rushed up in a hurry, unlatched the door, and the room was empty. My bed curtain was torn at one corner because the person got out of bed in a rush. The balcony door was wide open, and the night breeze fluttered the torn corner of the bed curtain, revealing what had just happened. Soon, the counselor arrived with the police. Based on my description, they checked the dorm thoroughly and then took a quick look at the balcony. Our dorm is on the 3rd floor, with a rain shelter built between the 1st and 2nd floors. The campus courier station is right across from us. It would be entirely feasible to jump from the 3rd floor, step on the rain shelter, and then land on the 1st floor. 13. That night, I refused to sleep in the dorm, and since my day student application would be approved by Monday, my counselor helped me pack and sent me home directly. When I saw my parents again, I couldn't help but tear up. What's wrong, baby? It's all our fault. Your dad and I have been so busy with work that we've neglected you. My mom held me and comforted me. Dad saw off the counselor, brought in the luggage, and sat down beside me. Meeting my parents' concerned gaze, I finally couldn't hold back my tears. In my previous life, I must have been under some spell, abandoning my loving parents to toil like a beast of burden at the Mo household. I can't even bear to imagine how devastated my parents would be upon learning of my death. I can't explain reincarnation, so I'll just tell you what happened in the dorm tonight. I'll be staying at home from now on, bugging you every morning, worried they might be too concerned. I deliberately made a joke to elicit a loving smile from my mom. With a wave of her hand, she left my dad in the master bedroom and came to sleep in the same room with me, bringing her pillow and blanket. Feeling the warmth on the other side of the bed, I smiled and drifted off to sleep. 14. With police involvement, the school reviewed the surveillance footage and quickly identified the person who had sneaked into the dorm that day. There were more than 2, it was 4, Mo Xing and his 3 co-workers. The police quickly arrested 4 people. Initially, they were reluctant to admit it, but perhaps to receive a lighter punishment. One man voluntarily detailed the entire process from planning to completion. Seeing someone confess, the remaining two also admitted. The evidence was conclusive, there was no room for denial, but in the end, he insisted that his target in entering the dormitory was not me, but Chi-Chi, and he didn't admit to being an intruder, claiming that Chi-Chi found it exciting in the dormitory and proposed inviting him and his co-worker to come find her there. It was also Chi-Chi who helped them disguise themselves and sneak into the dormitory during peak hours by following her, although his words did not lessen his own guilt. He implicated another person involved in the incident. It suddenly dawned on me at this point. Chi-Chi's message to me that day was to confirm I was returning to the dorm and to provide an alibi for being unaware and not present. How naive. Even if Mo Xing didn't incriminate her, did she really think it couldn't be uncovered? For individuals were administratively detained for 10 days. It is said that the electronics factory also fired them because of this incident. Unable to find a job with suitable pay in Kyoto, Mo Xing reluctantly returned to their hometown with Mo Lan, 15. It wasn't until the start of my senior year that the matter of my report was finally resolved. I only found out about this news from the media. There are many valleys in Majia County, and the cultural level is relatively backward. Many villages in these valleys are secretly involved in illegal human trafficking. Molan was a child bride bought by her parents-in-law from a village. The police, based on the information I provided, conducted investigations and confirmed the authenticity of the child bride situation. While handling the Mo family case, they traced back and uncovered a human trafficking point deep in the mountains. Following this lead, they unraveled an entire human trafficking network. To my surprise, all 4 members of the Mo family were involved in human trafficking. How could I have been so blind to share a bed with such a person for 5 years? Fortunately, in this lifetime, the chain was uncovered early, and many trapped youths and women were rescued. Mo's parents were sentenced to 6 years in prison for suspected human trafficking. Mo Xing was sentenced to death for suspected human trafficking, violating minors, and raping trafficked women, with severe circumstances. Moran is under 14 years old and is not criminally liable. She was originally trafficked, and her family members are nowhere to be found. The 3 members of the Mo family are all in custody, and she has been sent to the Welfare Institute in the county. How big can a small county be? Even the tiniest incident becomes common knowledge. The children in the welfare home are just without parents, not unreasonable. Apart from the staff and volunteers, no one wanted to talk to Moran. Moran had lived in the welfare home for a year, and took the opportunity when no one was watching to climb to the top of a high building and jump off. 16. The start of my senior year, and the graduate school recommendation results came quickly. As expected, I successfully secured a recommendation for graduate school. Lin Fengji isn't here. She wants to start a business. I provide the funding, and she contributes the effort and ideas. By the time I graduated from my senior year, Lin Feng's studio had already taken shape. 3 years later, I graduated from my dream university and successfully joined one of the top 100 companies. Meanwhile, Lin Feng's studio was also on the right track, with business thriving. My life is just beginning. Story 2. Song Ji Hui hates me, yet he spends a fortune to support me. It's just that my face bears a strong resemblance to his white moonlight. I thought we were just satisfying each other's needs. After paying off my debts, I decisively fled with 8 male models. Unexpectedly, there was a plane crash, and I died by accident. At the funeral, Song Ji Hui announced to everyone, "She is my wife, and we will be together forever." That night, the heir of the Song group was found to have committed suicide at home. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the age of 16, the year Song Ji Hui met his white moonlight. The young man rubbed a photo in his hand and murmured to himself, "I must marry Qiao Ziyuan. My name is Qiao Ziyuan." 1. Sitting in the familiar high school classroom, I stared at my reflection in the window, wearing the blue and white school uniform. I was stunned for a long time. Is it true that I've been reborn? What are you daydreaming about? Can't you solve the math problem? Call me Brother Song, and I'll teach you. Someone gently patted the back of my head. I turned around as I heard the voice and met Song Ji Hui's handsome but irritating face. Just a moment ago, my soul was still floating in the air. I watched helplessly as Song Ji Hui, dressed in a disheveled suit and with a pale face, held a fruit knife against his artery. His eyes filled with a paranoia and madness I had never seen before. "Qiao Ziyuan, does it hurt? Wait for me. I'm coming to accompany you." I couldn't figure it out. Song Ji Hui is my benefactor, He spent money on me, invested resources in me, and single-handedly turned me into a top actress. Others say that he loves me deeply. What they don't know is that on countless nights filled with passion, this man would take off his suit and viciously bite my lips. Xiao Ziyuan, I really hate you. If it weren't for the fact that you look somewhat like Yao Yao, I wouldn't even give you a second glance. But if someone hates another person, how could they commit suicide for her? Or could it be, Song Ji Huai, don't you secretly love me? I slapped my thigh, suddenly realizing something. The young man had just finished playing basketball and returned to his seat. When he tilted his head back to drink water, his smooth neck was fully exposed. Upon hearing my words, his actions froze. He coughed violently, and his ears turned red all the way to the base of his neck. You, just as the atmosphere was getting awkward, a slender white hand held a piece of tissue and placed it between him and me. Here you are. Don't drink so urgently. The voice was so gentle that it seemed to drip water, completely different from my bold and unruly manner. The girl had shoulder-length hair, and her eyes, which were just like mine, looked at me with a hint of reproach. Sister, how can you make such a joke casually? You scared him. It was Gu Qingyao, my half-sister. She was also the white moonlight that Song Ji Huai couldn't forget many years later, too. In my previous life, I once asked Song Ji Huai this question. You're so good to me. Do you like me? At that time, I had just finished a night scene and was starving. Song Ji Huai stood in the kitchen wearing an apron, calmly pouring oil and cooking noodles. Don't think too much. We're just getting what we need from each other. The man's voice was cold. Oh, that's for the best. I drawled and smiled heartlessly. Keep your heart in check, Song Ji Huai. A person can't be so cheap. After being dumped by me once, how could you still come crawling back? Song Ji Huai was so angry that he took out the support agreement from the bedside table and threw it at me with a cold face. Shut up, Xiao Ziyuan. You're good for nothing except for that face of yours. Hardly anyone would believe it. In this love game where I was a substitute, I was the one in control. Song Ji Huai and I were childhood sweethearts. In our sophomore year of high school, he blushed as he confessed his love to me. Out of curiosity, I agreed. We had a period of affectionate time together, but soon, there was a traitor within the Song group. The capital chain broke, and it was on the verge of bankruptcy. Song Ji Huai was forced to transfer schools. Before leaving, he almost pleaded with me, can you not fall in love with someone else for my sake? I had a blank expression as I resolutely broke free from his grasp. We were just having some fun, don't take it seriously. Okay, I've been pampered since I was a child. And the person I marry in the future should also be of the same social status. If you weren't from the Song family, I wouldn't even look at you. Besides, now that the Song family is on the verge of bankruptcy and you have nothing, do you think I would wait for you? I still remember the look in Song Ji Huai's eyes, a mixture of sadness, anger, and disbelief. Gu Qingyao, who had always had a crush on him, didn't hesitate to give up her place of being recommended to a prestigious noble academy and resolutely went with him, accompanying him through 3 long years of hardship. It's easy to imagine, the more Song Ji Huai hated me, the more he loved Gu Qingyao. 3. Through the torrent of time, when I saw the two of them together again, I suddenly had an epiphany and thought of a way to break the situation, since God has given me a chance to live a new life. Instead of having a love-hate relationship for more than 20 years and still ending up badly, it's better to match up the true lovers. To be fair, although Song Ji Huai says one thing and means another and is extremely stubborn about his pride, he is actually a very nice person and deserves a healthy and beautiful relationship. After thinking it through, I patted Song Ji Huai on the shoulder, acting like we were good buddies. Ha ha ha, I'm just kidding. How could young Master Song like me? Class is about to start, let me copy your homework. I didn't do well in my studies, and Song Ji Huai specially applied to be my deskmate to tutor me. Occasionally, when there wasn't enough time, he would let me copy his homework first and then explain it to me in detail later. But this time, he snatched the workbook away and, with a dark face, spat out 3 words, do it yourself. Since you called me young Master Song, do you really think you can copy the young master's homework? I could hear the sarcasm in his tone and pouted, saying, Tisk, you're more petty than a sesame seed. Humph. Song Ji Huai didn't take the tissue from Gu Qingyao. Instead, he grabbed the handkerchief I had placed on the table and casually wiped his mouth. At that time, Gu Qingyao had just transferred in, and Song Ji Huai didn't care about her as much as he did later. Seeing her stamping her foot in frustration and preparing to leave, I took a deep breath and spoke up at the right moment. Gu Qingyao, let's switch seats, huh? Gu Qingyao looked at me suspiciously. Are you willing to separate from him? Song Ji-hwai and I had a bond from growing up together since childhood. We often played around and were as close as Siamese twins. Many classmates in the class assumed that we were a couple, but we just hadn't made it public. There are other people who do well in their studies besides him. My voice was calm as I drew a clear line with that one sentence. Song Ji-hwai was obviously anxious. Come on, is it just because I won't let you copy my homework? You can't be this serious when joking around. I forcefully pulled the handkerchief back from his hand and calmly started packing my school bag. I'm serious. I'll go and talk to the head teacher after class at noon. You haven't helped me much. Sometimes, when you talk too much, it even affects my studies. In short, I don't want to be your deskmate anymore. Song Ji-hwai couldn't adapt to my sudden change. I don't agree. His facial features were profound, and when he looked at me with a gloomy face, a sense of oppression came over me. Gu Qingyao looked at me and then at him. She asked cautiously, "Are you two quarreling?" I dug my nails into my palm and tried to make my voice sound calm. Song Ji-hwai, don't act like we're breaking up, we're just friends. Where I sit and who I switch seats with are my own business. 4. After I earnestly proposed to the head teacher several times, Song Ji-hwai and Gu Qingyao finally sat together. Song Ji-hwai had a gloomy face for several days and ignored everyone, looking as if someone owed him 8 million. I saw it and was anxious in my heart. So one day after school, I stopped Gu Qingyao. You like Song Ji-hwai, right? I'll help you chase him. She didn't agree immediately. You're not using Song Ji-hwai to take revenge on me, are you? After my mom married your dad, you moved out of the Chow family's villa. I know that although you don't say it, you've always hated me in your heart. Gu Qingyao called me sister, but in fact, we weren't very familiar with each other. The memories of my previous life ended when she accompanied Song Ji-hwai to transfer schools. I don't know why the two of them didn't end up together in the end. She went to the UK to pursue a master's degree and became the white moonlight that Song Ji-hwai couldn't let go of. You're thinking too much. I was surprised by her imagination. I really don't like you, but it was my dad's choice to divorce and remarry, and it has nothing to do with you. Gu Qingyao's delicate eyebrows twitched slightly. Fine, my dear sister, then tell me, how can I catch up with Song Ji-hwai? The corners of my eyes curved into a smile. And I spilled out the details like pouring beans from a bag. He can't eat spicy food, his favorite fruit is cherries, and his most interesting subject is mathematics. He often plays basketball in his spare time. You can go and watch his games, but he won't drink the water given by girls. The best way is to fill his water cup before he comes back, so he won't have a reason to refuse. Oh, and the most crucial point is that he's afraid of dogs. But there are several stray dogs on the way from school to his home, so you can have the nerve to walk him home, and he definitely won't refuse. Scenes from the past between Song Ji-hwai and me flashed before my eyes. Our families lived close to each other, and we had been walking to school together since kindergarten. Every time a small dog passed by on the road, he would reflexively hide behind me. He held my hand tightly. Dog, it's so big. Xiao Ziyuan, protect me quickly. I couldn't help but look down on him. You're such a coward, look how scared you are. Finally, I patted him on the shoulder to comfort him. Don't be afraid, when I become a big star, I'll take care of you. As the little dog walked away, Song Ji-hwai let out a long sigh of relief. He tilted his head and thought for a moment. Then I'll earn money to fund your movies. I happily high-fived him. It's a deal. I can't forget that quiet summer night. With the warm light of the street lamps shining down, the little Song Ji-hwai suddenly turned his head and said seriously, Xiao Ziyuan, we have to stay together even when we grow up. I talked until my mouth was dry, and Gu Qingyao benefited a lot. Why are you helping me? She asked. I smiled. You two are a perfect match. My dad didn't have much interaction with Gu Qingyao, but in my previous life, when I was in a desperate situation, I received an anonymous transfer of money. It was from London, UK. I knew it was from her, but I didn't touch that money. Gu Qingyao likes Song Ji-hwai, so I'll help her as it suits the situation. Consider it as repaying a favor. Gu Qingyao was very action-oriented. The next day, she put into practice what I had told her. She brought cherries for Song Ji-hwai, filled his water cup with water at the right temperature in advance, and cheered for him hoarsely on the basketball court. Song Ji-hwai's attitude towards her changed from being polite and distant at first to joking and playing around. It seemed that they had become very familiar friends. Once, after evening self-study, I secretly followed them. I saw Gu Qingyao walking beside Song Ji-huai with a wooden stick and gently comforting him. Some people are afraid of dogs, but actually, dogs are more afraid of people. Stray dogs are really pitiful. Song Ji-huai stared at her for a while. And a gentle smile curled up at the corners of his mouth. Thank you, Gu Qingyao. Under the dim street lights, the young man and woman walked side by side, and the scene was particularly warm, but I took several deep breaths. There was no joy of achieving my wish as I had expected. I just felt pain in my eyes and in my heart. 5. After school at noon, Song Ji-huai and Gu Qingyao went to the cafeteria for lunch together. The sound of their laughter made my heart feel stuffy. I stood up abruptly and decided to visit my mom in the psychiatric hospital in the suburbs. As soon as I entered, I saw her wearing an ill-fitting hospital gown, sitting in the yard basking in the sun. My dad, dressed in a suit, stood beside her and said in a low voice, "As long as you give up the division of property and leave the house clean, I will support Yuan until she gets married and give her the best education within my ability, but if you insist on being delusional and fighting for it." A hint of threat crept into the man's voice. "Then I will give up her custody and let her fend for herself with you, a crazy person." My mom smiled bitterly. "Do you really have to push me to a dead end and even threaten me with our daughter?" My dad coldly retorted, "When dealing with abnormal people, you have to use abnormal means, don't you? Fine, as long as you treat Yuan well." She chooses the second option. I raised my voice and interrupted my mom. Angrily staring at this heartless man, "I will live with my mom. We should get every penny of the property that belongs to us." Yuan, don't say such angry words. Her schizophrenia and anxiety disorder have a very high genetic probability. Only by staying with dad can you get the best treatment. My mom also held my hand tightly. "Yes, Yuan, what your dad said makes sense. I'm a crazy person. You're still young and can't waste your time on me, regardless of what illness she has. Whether it's cancer or a mental illness, she is my mom. I'm not like you, a heartless man who is good at calculating. I will never leave her." I slowly exhaled and made the same choice as in my previous life. "Dad, I still call you Dad. If there's nothing else, you can leave." Before my dad left, he gave me a deep look. No one can stand having someone on the verge of going crazy by their side. Over the past 10-odd years, I have been more than kind to your mom, Yuan. It won't be long before you regret the decision you made today. On the way back, my mind was in a mess. There was still more than half an hour before the afternoon class started, and the classroom was empty. I immediately saw the seat by the window. Gu Qingyao had gone out, and Song Ji-huai was rubbing a photo in his hand, muttering something. The sunlight seemed to gild his profile, making him incredibly good-looking. At the same time, I could clearly see the person in the photo. With delicate features, a high ponytail, and a beaming smile, it was me. The chirping of cicadas filled the air, and everything around me seemed to fade away. I understood the shape of Song Ji-huai's mouth. I must marry Xiao Ziyuan. I was in a daze for a moment. It was as if I had returned to my previous life when I had been working hard. Finally, after paying off my debt to Song Ji-huai, I hired 8 male models at once and happily went on vacation to the Maldives. Unexpectedly, the plane crashed. My body was frozen in the mortuary for 3 days, and no one claimed it. It was not until Song Ji-huai, who had been on a business trip, came back that he held a grand and decent funeral for me. When someone asked about the relationship between us, he stared at my posthumous photo and announced to everyone in a hoarse voice, "She was my wife. We will be together forever." The scenes overlapped. I stumbled in. "Song Ji-huai, are you crazy?" Song Ji-huai was startled by my sudden action, and a red flush appeared on his cold, pale cheeks. He coughed twice and didn't dare to look at me directly. "Gu Qingyao said that I should take my time when chasing a girl, but I really can't stand living without you. Since you've heard it, then I'll make a formal confession." He couldn't confess. Alarm bells rang in my heart. Song Ji-huai had been ruined by me once, and I definitely couldn't make the same mistake again. I snatched the photo from his hand and threw it on the ground. "I treat you as a brother, but you're a pervert." Song Ji-huai stood there stupidly, feeling both ashamed and annoyed. After a 2-minute silence, he let out a sigh. "Okay, I was abrupt. I apologize to you." He picked up the photo and carefully blew off the dust on it. He grabbed my wrist and made me sit down. His peach blossom eyes full of concern. "What's wrong? Are you in a bad mood? Did your dad make you angry again? Damn it, I'll go and reason with him." I hung my head. Because of his sincere and candid concern, I burst into tears without warning. "Stop liking me. I'm selfish, profit-seeking, and heartless. there will be no good end to liking me. No, Xiao Ziyuan, it's not like that. Song Jihui bent his fingers to wipe away my tears, his expression more serious than ever. You have a passionate personality, you're loyal. And you have a kind heart. You are too many to finish listing even if I talk for 3 days and 3 nights. It's easy and happy to fall in love with you, so I burst into sobs. But you'll die, Song Jihui, you'll die. 6. Just like in the novels about reconciliation after a breakup, in my previous life, I had cynically mocked Song Jihui, who had transferred schools due to his family's bankruptcy. 7 years later, at a charity gala held by a well-known brand, I was a waiter. I was scolded by the manager for breaking a plate. When I broke down and cried, Song Jihui, dressed in a well-tailored suit, descended from the sky. How much do I need to pay for it? I'll pay for her. Sorry, Mr. Song, I didn't know she was yours. The manager changed his irritable demeanor and smiled obsequiously. You donated 5 million in the name of the Song Corporation. What's a plate? Song Jihui looked down at me with a coldness in his eyes that I had never seen before. Xiao Ziyuan, when you laughed at me for being poor and said I wasn't worthy, did you ever think there would be a day like this? He probably wanted to humiliate me, but I wasn't the least bit embarrassed. I slowly stood up and retorted coldly, a proper ex should be as good as dead, instead of suddenly popping up like a zombie. Song Jihui gritted his molars and relentlessly chased after me. Damn it, are you short of money? Why are you here? I pushed him away and walked forward. The next second, an arm wrapped around my waist and forcefully pressed me against the wall. The man's hot breath was right beside my ear. If you're short of money, I can support you. Qingyao has gone abroad, and you look somewhat like her. 10,000 yuan a month, you can be her substitute and stay by my side. What do you think? He leaned close to my ear, his tone frivolous, deliberately trying to embarrass me. According to my character, I should have slapped him, but in reality, my mom's medical expenses were increasing day by day. I had been struggling to make it to my junior year of college by working part-time while studying. The burden of life was weighing me down, and my mom had frequent outbursts and attempted suicides. What was even more terrifying was that I was gradually losing control of my emotions. If there was no money for medical treatment, I would most likely become the crazy woman that others talked about. So after a long silence, I looked up at him and said softly, in that case, thank you, Mr. Song. I was studying at a film academy. I originally planned to drop out and work after finishing that year to pay for my mom's medical treatment. Song Jihui was as tight-lipped as a clam. Although he was sharp-tongued, he helped me pay off my student loans and intended to help me debut. Don't be stingy with the money I give you. If it gets out, people will think I'm a miserly benefactor. A large amount of resources were thrown at me. I took on acting roles and participated in variety shows. In just 3 years, I went from an unknown college student to a sought-after first-line actress, but my genetic traits began to surface, and my mental state continued to deteriorate. Forced by this situation, I could only send my mom to the Maldives to recuperate first, and then unilaterally tear up the support agreement and follow her. After deducting the possible future treatment expenses from the money I earned since my debut, I transferred the vast majority of the remaining money to Song Jihui's account. First, to pay off my debt. After all, he had helped me so much. Second, to draw a clear line with him. I was like a bomb that could explode at any moment, and there was really no need to delay him. I won't be this substitute anymore. I wrote a few big words on the bathroom mirror with lipstick. I pretended not to notice Song Jihui's feelings for me and used the excuse of being Gu Qingya's substitute as always, afraid that he wouldn't believe it. I even hired 8 male models to act with me, so when the news of my plane crash came out, the anti-fans mocked me. How lustful is Xiao Ziyuan? Can she handle 8 male models? Is this woman letting herself go because she's been dumped by her benefactor? Sigh. Who doesn't know that Xiao Ziyuan is backed by the person in charge of the Song Corporation? To be honest, what does she deserve? Song Jihui, who had never used Weibo before, specially registered an account. Xiao Ziyuan is a very professional actress. Even without me, she can shine on the screen. Those who hide behind the screen and belittle her and spread baseless rumors, the Song Corporation will hold them accountable according to the law. 7. It felt like an eternity before the shock in Song Jihui's eyes gradually faded away. His light-colored lips moved, as if he was eager to confirm something, but the words that came out took a different turn. What do you mean I'll die? Xiao Ziyuan, what are you talking about? Nothing. I sniffled and pinched my fingertips to force myself to calm down. If I confessed that I was reborn now, Song Jihui would most likely think that I had gone crazy because of the math problems. Then why do you look so sad? Also, why are you rejecting me? You should give me a reason. I avoided his gaze. It's because, I don't have feelings for you. I don't believe it, Xiao Ziyuan. If you have the guts, look me in the eye and say it again. I suddenly turned around and glared at him. Stop talking nonsense. I said I have no feelings. Song Jihui suddenly pouted, his peach blossom eyes staring straight at me. He looked extremely aggrieved. The words that I hadn't finished speaking got stuck in my throat. I coughed twice. We're still students. I want to get into a good university. Falling in love will be a distraction. Okay then. Song Jihui lowered his eyelashes. By the way, there's something I need to remind you. I said seriously, you need to be careful of your uncle, Song Jihui. In the previous life, the Song Corporation, which had been thriving, faced the most serious economic crisis in its history. It was because Song Jihui, who was middle-aged and accomplished nothing, was jealous that Song Jihui, who was still in high school, was being groomed as the heir and betrayed the company's important secrets to the rival company. As a chain reaction, the capital chain broke. I stopped my words and tried to express it euphemistically. He has always been at odds with your dad. There's a chance he'll do something harmful to the Song Corporation. In short, you must be on your guard. Song Jihui nodded vigorously. Just when I thought he had listened and my heart that had been hanging in the air was slightly relieved, the young man tilted his head and said something astonishing. You're actually concerned about my family's company. Heh, you say you have no feelings for me. If you're deliberately rejecting me to get my attention, then I'll tell you, you've succeeded. Get lost. I gave him a white look. I'm being serious. Did you hear me? Got it, got it. Song Jihui took out a copy of 5 years of college entrance exams and 3 years of mock exams from the drawer. This is for you. There are my annotations and detailed explanations of the knowledge points for each question in it. This, a thickened version of the math exercise book. I instinctively wanted to refuse. Don't you think I'm losing enough hair already? Song Jihui stuffed it into my hand without giving me a chance to refuse. Who just said they wanted to study hard and get into a good university? Take it. In my previous life, I was seriously biased in my studies. Math was dragging down my overall score, resulting in a low score in the general culture course. In order to ask my dad to spend money and pull some strings to get me into the School of Journalism and Communication, my mom not only voluntarily gave up the division of property but also knelt down in front of Gu Qingyao and her mom, losing all her dignity. Thanks, I secretly made up my mind that this time I must improve my grades and not give my dad a chance to take advantage of the situation. Sister, Song Jihui, you too. The preparatory bell rang, and the classmates walked into the classroom in 2s and 3s. Gu Qingyao directly walked towards us, with a teasing smile on her face. Are you two back on good terms? Let me be nosy. Was the confession successful? In an instant, I had an epiphany and wanted to grab her collar and ask her what was going on. Fine, now I'm really curious. I taught you how to chase him, but what on earth is going on? Gu Qingyao shrugged. I did as you said, but I didn't succeed in chasing him. It's better to let you two be together, but I clearly saw that night. I saw the two of them going home together. And Gu Qingyao even helped Song Jihui fend off the stray dogs. It was just an act. If I didn't push you, when would you recognize your true feelings? I was both ashamed and annoyed, so it was fake that I helped you chase Song Jihui, and you two were plotting against me. Song Jihui showed no sign of guilt and accused me through gritted teeth. You pushed me towards someone else, so I had no choice but to resort to this last resort. Also, Xiao Ziyuan. I'm not actually afraid of dogs anymore, he said softly. I only pretended to be afraid when you were by my side. My face burned all the way to the base of my neck. Shut up, Gu Qingyao blinked, looking like a cunning rabbit. Then, do you want to switch seats back? Song Jihui quickly glanced at me and nodded vigorously. I forced myself to remain calm and fled in a hurry. No need. 8. After solving all the messy things, I focused all my energy on my studies. Fortunately, I hadn't fallen too far behind, and there was still enough time. Song Jihui always paid attention to my grades. Before school ended every night, he would check the completion of my homework. He was always available to answer my questions, becoming my exclusive little teacher. Besides him, once during a break, I was troubled by a difficult problem. Gu Qingyao, who happened to pass by, suddenly stopped. Connect point A and point C and draw an auxiliary line to take a look. Suddenly enlightened, I smiled at her, and she smiled back. In this second life, my relationship with this stepsister had improved a lot compared to before. In the final exam of the second semester of senior high school, my grades in all subjects improved, especially in math. I finally crossed the passing line, scoring 20 points more than the last time. The summer vacation passed in a flash. On the day of the start of the second year of senior high school, I couldn't report on time. Because the lawsuit with my dad was in court, and my mom's mental state was not good, I had to attend as the plaintiff. This profit-seeking man had promised well, but he refused to divide the property that belonged to my mom and me. At this time in my previous life, my dad had extensive connections, and I didn't have the money to hire a lawyer. After arguing my case, I only managed to get a pitiful amount of living expenses. The day before Song Jihuai's family had trouble. I had just saved my mom who had tried to cut her wrists. I was completely exhausted, so when he said he was transferring schools and asked me to wait for him, I didn't hesitate to break his hold on me. In this life, the situation didn't seem to improve with my rebirth. The treatment costs for my mom were high, so I had no choice but to transfer her from the hospital ward to our home. I asked for leave from the evening self-study with the head teacher and stayed at home to take care of her. My mom's condition fluctuated. For the umpteenth time, she grabbed a kitchen knife and went to chop at the neighbor's door. I hugged her around the waist with all my strength and shouted, "Mom, calm down." Behind the protective railing, the neighbor aunt cursed at us. "Not to be mean, but can you move this crazy person out? If there's a next time, I'll call the police." As soon as I snatched the knife from my mom's hand, I didn't have time to be scared. I hunched over and apologized to the neighbor. That's when Song Jihuai and Gu Qingyao showed up. If I remember correctly, Xiao Ziyuan's family lives here. The girl's words stopped abruptly. In the narrow and shabby stairwell, I locked eyes with Song Jihuai, who had climbed more than a dozen floors out of breath and furrowed his brows in disbelief. The thing I was most afraid of had happened. In an instant, I froze in place. Like a criminal waiting for judgment, there was a suffocating silence. Shock, regret, and self-blame alternated on Song Jihuai's face. I swallowed hard and felt a strange sense of relief. Fortunately, there were no embarrassing questions that made me feel humiliated. Coming back to his senses, he naturally apologized to the neighbor aunt on my behalf. Then he helped my mom back to the bedroom. Did I see it wrong? Song Jihuai's outer corners of the eyes are so red. Is he feeling sad? But it's me who's embarrassed. What on earth is he sad about? Gu Qingyao walked over and patted my shoulder lightly. Song Jihuai was worried about you because you haven't gone to evening self-study for several days and you've been asking for leave during the day. That's why he asked me to bring him to see you. Judging from the reactions of the two of you, he doesn't know about your mother, does he? I gave a self-deprecating smile. Now that he knows, he should give up. Gu Qingyao took my hand. The warm touch spread from the palm of my hand to my chest, making me feel much more at ease. She said, "Sis, you really should look in the mirror at your current expression. You look worse than when you cry. Is it really that hard to admit that you like him? Don't think I'm meddling. I'm speaking directly because I consider you two my friends. If you have difficulties, just talk to Song Jihuai. Isn't it better to solve problems and face them together?" I slowly raised my eyes, my voice hoarse. What if I say that I inherited my mother's mental illness? 9. You've seen my father's attitude towards my mother. If Song Jihuai and I really get together, who can guarantee that I won't follow in my mother's footsteps? Perhaps she didn't expect this aspect. Gu Qingyao stared at me and couldn't say a word for a long time. I shook my head, my voice very soft. The person you think is your significant other might turn into a deadly knife. I don't dare to take that risk. Song Jihuai and I are childhood friends, but my father cares about his reputation. Under his deliberate concealment, Song Jihuai doesn't know much about my family and has very little knowledge of the specific situation of my family. Regarding the matter of the hereditary mental illness, I haven't mentioned a word to him in both lifetimes. When I watched TV when I was a child, I always thought that many misunderstandings between the male and female protagonists were unnecessary. At that time, I always thought, you guys should just speak clearly, you're so hesitant when you talk. Only after experiencing it did I understand that some words are really hard to say, and we must also miss out on some things. This is also why I pushed Song Jihuai towards Gu Qingyao. Being with a potential mental patient won't lead to happiness, just like my parents. At that time, we had a very unpleasant argument and said a lot of harsh words. In fact, I was afraid that I would regret it. Song Jihuai is a very proud person. Most likely, he won't go back to his ex, sis. Gu Qingyao wanted to say something more. I interrupted her with a smile. Don't you like him? Why are you trying to match us up instead? Gu Qingyao snorted coldly. Even a fool can tell that Song Jihuai isn't interested in me. Why should I go out of my way to flatter someone who doesn't care? She raised her chin, and her haughty expression had a hint of inexplicable cuteness. There are 20 trillion men in the world. I'm so excellent, I don't have to be with Song Jihuai. I was stunned for a moment and fully agreed. That's right. Song Jihuai peeked out from behind the door. I don't know how long he had been eavesdropping. Auntie has been coaxed to sleep by me. Xiao Ziyuan, I came to thank you. Gu Qingyao volunteered. Then I'll go and stay in the bedroom. You two can talk. I don't want to be a third wheel. The crisis of the Song family has been resolved, right? I asked Song Jihuai. If you hadn't told me that Song Jihuai was up to something, my father and I wouldn't have been able to expose him so quickly. I let out a long sigh and then laughed bitterly. Even without me, the result would have been the same. Song Jihuai took the opportunity to show off. Not bad. I didn't expect you to have so much confidence in me. I looked at him with gentle eyes. Song Jihuai, you've been reborn too, right? 10. At first, I just felt that something was off. I know Song Jihuai too well. He's arrogant and likes to show his kindness in a roundabout way, but the Song Jihuai in this life seems to have suddenly unlocked the lock on his mouth. He keeps saying sweet words. There's no reason that when I painstakingly taught Gu Qingyao the skills of pursuing a man, he not only didn't take the bait, but also confessed earlier than expected. I was truly certain of all this when I asked him to keep an eye on Song Jihuai. Song Jihuai didn't ask me for the reason. He didn't even have the slightest doubt. With thunderous means, he found out the handhold of Song Jihuai and neatly dealt with this hidden danger. His calmness and the proficiency of his methods don't seem to belong to a high school student at all. Instead, he looks like a seasoned veteran in the business world. If he hadn't been reborn too, I couldn't think of any other reason. I originally wanted to tell you after everything was settled. Song Jihuai and I confronted each other for a long time, and all the events of the past and present lifetimes flashed before my eyes one by one. I can't really describe how I feel. There's a ball of cotton blocking my chest, making me feel sour and swollen. When Song Jihuai spoke again, his voice was a bit hoarse. In the last lifetime, I tried my best to climb up the social ladder, just so that one day I could be worthy of you, but when I finally got you back, I couldn't help but hold on to the words you said back then. Even though I desperately wanted to reconcile with you, I was too proud to take the initiative to speak up. In a hoarse voice, he told me, I saw that you needed money at that time, so I fabricated a sugar baby agreement, determined to humiliate you. Gu Qingyao and I actually have no relationship. After transferring to our school, she chased me for a while. After I clearly refused her, she gave up, since she went to study in the UK. We haven't seen each other again. In the shabby living room of the rental house, Song Jihuai curled up on the sofa and sobbed with his hands covering his face. If only I had asked you why you needed the money. It's all my fault for being so proud and not being able to bring myself to make peace. Xiao Ziyuan, I'm sorry, your ending shouldn't have been like that. After witnessing everything, Song Jihuai finally understood my insincerity. Self-blame and regret engulfed him like the deep sea. I wouldn't have told you even if you asked. I gently hugged him, conveying a great deal of comforting power. As you said, human pride is really ridiculous. You were too proud, and so was I. After we reunited, I was clearly grateful for your rescue. But I didn't want to reveal my broken family of origin and my precarious mental state in front of the person I liked. Repeated harsh words pushed you further and further away. I tried my best to force a smile. It's all in the past, Song Jihuai. If it weren't for you making me a top actress, I wouldn't have been able to earn the money to treat my mother. Whether it was in the past life or this life, you've helped me a lot. You don't need to blame yourself, holding back the urge to cry. I gripped his shoulders and said seriously, when I was reborn, I was determined to save you. I'm suffering from a serious illness and my future is uncertain, but you're different. You should have a wonderful life and definitely can't commit suicide again. It's too late. Song Jihuai's outer corners of the eyes were red, and he stared at me without blinking. Xiao Ziyuan, I've fallen in love with you. We've known each other for so many years. Whenever you were bullied, I was always the first to object. I'm afraid of dogs, and you stood in front of me. Every bit of our time together has been engraved in my mind, and I can't see anyone else but you. I reached out to cover my eyes, but the tears still spilled out from between my fingers. What do you want me to do then? I was reborn with guilt. I had a chance to start over, but I watched the tragedy repeat itself. Song Jihui. What do you want me to do? Song Jihui hugged me back so tightly that it felt as if he wanted to embed me into his bones and blood. You fool. Can't you think of yourself for once? You're so focused on preventing me from committing suicide, but I was reborn to save you too. A tear landed on my ear, and it was hot. As long as you're alive, I won't die, he said. 11. Song Jihui hired the best lawyer to defend me. In court, my father's ugly face was fully exposed. I knew she had a mental illness and still raised her for more than 10 years. It's already out of the affection between husband and wife, not to mention that I've been managing the Chow group all along. Why should I give it up? I really wanted to rush up and slap him twice. Have you forgotten that my mother was once a wealthy young lady? At that time, the Chow group was just an unknown company. You tried hard to pursue her for her support. After you used her, you just cast her aside. How can there be such a good thing in the world? The Song family holds a pivotal position in the business world. With the help of Song Jihui, those who had taken my father's bribes no longer dared to take his side. According to the civil code, my mother and I not only received half of the total assets of the Chow family, but my father also had to give me enough living expenses regularly. I made a quick decision and moved to a house with a better environment. I also hired a professional caregiver to look after my mother 24 hours a day, so that I could go to class with peace of mind. Song Jihui was worried about my mother and me living alone. He came to visit us frequently and never stopped bringing fruits and supplements for my mother. He bought a bunch of men's underwear online and had them delivered to our house. He insisted that I hang them on the balcony to pretend that there was a man in the house. I'm really worried. How about I move in and live with you? Song Jihui said anxiously. I pretended to hit him. Get lost. You're so unreliable all the time. After winning the lawsuit, my mother was in a good mood because of the happy event, and the time she was sober gradually increased. She smiled and watched us fooling around. She also comforted Song Jihui. Don't worry, Xiao Song. In a society ruled by law, if there are bad people, we'll call the police immediately. I never expected it. It turned out to be a prophecy. I did well in the first monthly exam, and the head teacher even praised me by name. After finally waiting for school to end, I was in a hurry to tell my mother the good news, so I didn't wait for Song Jihui and left first. When that drunk hooligan pounced on me, I was completely stunned. Fortunately, in my previous life as a big star, I had a lot of experience dealing with obsessive fans. I aimed at the right position and suddenly kicked him in the groin. The hooligan was in pain, and a dagger slipped out of his sleeve and stabbed straight at me. In a split second, I realized that this was a premeditated revenge. The dagger shining with white light ultimately didn't hurt me, because Song Jihui rushed over. He fought with the gangster. In the chaos, he was stabbed in the abdomen. The sound of the police siren wailed. I stared in horror as Song Jihui slowly fell. My ears were buzzing. Xiao Ziyuan, am I cool? He spat out a mouthful of blood in my arms. Am I much cooler than those 8 male models? I tried in vain to press on the bleeding wound and burst into tears. You're not allowed to die, Song Jihui. I won't let you die. That hooligan was hired by my father and Song Jihui, two frustrated people, to commit murder. Early the next morning, the police handcuffed these two people in front of all the employees from the Song families and Chow families companies respectively. My father had schemed for most of his life, but in the end, he had to spend the rest of his life in prison. Song Jihui's father had made arrangements with the people inside, and he and Song Jihui would receive the best treatment. Song Jihui was sent to the hospital in time and was not in serious danger. The doctor said it would be some time before he woke up. My mother and I stayed by his hospital bed. They don't know that on countless nights when we were infatuated with each other, this person took off his suit and fiercely bit my lips. Yuan. It was my fault for trusting the wrong person regarding your father, but you can't judge everyone by the same standard. As long as we keep our mood happy, our illness can be cured. My child, you've had a hard life. I don't want to see you torture yourself anymore. My eyes were still red. Mom, I understand. I thought I could be cruel and let go, but when Song Jihui fainted in my arms last night, I couldn't care about anything else. There was only one thought in my mind, to be with him. After going through so many separations and reconciliations in 2 lifetimes, we can't keep wasting time like this. Let's be together, the kind that will never part. As I said this, tears welled up in my eyes again. Don't cry. I accept your confession. A slender and fair hand slowly lifted up and wiped away my tears. For a moment, I laughed and cried at the same time. You're awake. Are you feeling any discomfort, doctor? I'll go and call the doctor. Don't change the subject. Song Jihuai's face was pale, but the corners of his mouth were raised, and his eyes were shining brightly. Once I promise, I won't go back on my word. Qiao Ziyuan, we'll be together properly in this life. I'll earn a lot of money and spend it all on you. You can act and become a big star and achieve your dreams. I kept nodding and responding randomly, okay, anything is fine. Outside the window, the cicadas were chirping. I looked at my little son. From then on, I can never look away. Story 2. Not long after I died, my childhood friend, a genius who was recommended for admission to the School of Chemistry, committed suicide. No one expected that he, who had always been calm and self-possessed, would go crazy and personally tie up the person who had harmed me and detonate a bomb at the cost of ruining his own future. In the midst of the flames filling the sky, he murmured desperately, Yang, wait for me. When I opened my eyes again, I returned to my senior year of high school, the year when I had a cold war with him. My desk mate beside me leaned over with a smile and whispered in my ear, Song Yang, I just saw the draft paper of the top student Lin, your name is written all over it. 1. When we encountered a wild beast on the mountain. My best friend instinctively pushed me out as bait. I was pushed down the hillside by her. On the way, my legs hit a tree, and an intense pain shot through me instantly. Sorry, Song Yang, I will always remember you. Seeing that the wild beast's attention was drawn to me, my best friend immediately gritted her teeth, grabbed her beloved boyfriend, and fled quickly. Only I, with my broken legs, was left lying at the bottom of the slope waiting to die. Damn it, this damn love-struck girl. She said she was going to break up with him the day before yesterday, and today she pushed me to feed the wild beast. There was no one around. I endured the pain and took out my phone. The moment I saw that there was only 1 bar of battery left, despair filled my heart. It's over. I'm probably going to meet my great-grandmother. I don't know why. Maybe it was an instinct, or maybe I was truly unwilling. I actually dialed the phone number of my childhood friend Lin Su, with whom I had been in a cold war for a year. The other side picked up the phone after just 1 ring. Hello, Lin Su's voice came from the other end, a bit cold. I'm busy. What's the matter? He was always like this, as if he wouldn't change his expression even if Mount Tai were to collapse in front of him. But if I had listened carefully, I should have been able to find that his tone was slightly trembling when he answered the phone, just like his inner feelings. I couldn't hold it back and burst into tears. Lin Su, I'm probably going to die soon. After I die, remember to delete all my chat records and browsing history. My bank card is in the pillowcase of my room, and the password is my birthday, although there are only 52 yuan left in it. Consider it as a keepsake I left for you. There was a harsh sound of a chair scraping against the ground from the other side. I heard him quickly say sorry to the teacher on the podium. And then there were rapid footsteps. Song Yang, what happened? I didn't dare to tell him what situation I was facing. I still spoke rapidly, seizing every second. Sorry, I shouldn't have always quarreled with you. It was my fault for hitting you when we were kids, and I also stole the chocolate in your drawer in high school. I was actually quite happy to know that you were recommended for admission. After all, you're so smart. You skipped 2 grades in school. I should have known earlier that you and I are not from the same world. You've always been so cold since we were little. You've never accepted anyone's confession. I didn't even dare to say that I actually liked you a little bit. Before I could finish speaking, he interrupted me quickly. Stop talking. I'm checking your location. Wait for me. But it was too late. I watched as the wild beast approached me step by step. In the end, I died due to excessive blood loss. Before I died, I only had time to say 1 sentence. Lin Su, it hurts so much. I died. The first person to find my body was Lin Su. I don't know when he installed a positioning device in my phone. When he brought the police to find my body in the mountains, it was already the afternoon of the next day. In the dusk, my body was gnawed beyond recognition by the wild beast, and it was almost impossible to tell what my facial features looked like. But he just recognized me at a glance based on my location and the necklace around my neck. The moment he saw my body, he completely broke down. I had known him for more than 10 years, and I had never seen him lose control like this. He had always been extremely steady and calm, with a cold and fair face. He had always been this since we were little. He was clearly 2 years younger than me. But he skipped grades all the way and was finally directly recommended for admission to a chemistry major at a top university. The gap between him and me was like the difference between the clouds and the mud. but I never expected that a year later, he would hold my body and cry until his eyes were red, ignoring everyone's dissuasion. Later, he asked everyone around me and learned that I had gone mountain climbing with my best friend and her boyfriend that day, but in the end, the two of them came back alive, while I was eaten to death by the wild beast. He questioned the two of them like a madman why they had left me behind, but my best friend and her boyfriend, who were feeling guilty, insisted that I had accidentally gotten separated from them. He knew that my death was definitely related to these two people, so not long after, an explosion occurred in an abandoned factory on the outskirts of the city, resulting in the deaths of 2 men and 1 woman. 2 cowards who abandoned their friend, and a genius from the School of Chemistry with a promising future. He kidnapped the 2 of them with his own hands, made a bomb himself, and chose to die together with them to avenge me. In the midst of the flames filling the sky, he murmured desperately, "Yang Yang, wait for me." When I opened my eyes again, I found that I had returned to the high school classroom. Lin Su, my childhood friend who had just been recommended for admission, was standing in front of my seat. He was wearing a clean school uniform shirt, and his slightly long bangs covered his forehead. Looking further down, the eyes behind the thin, framed glasses were as clear as a cold spring. "Song Yang." He called my name and asked as if casually, "Did you eat the chocolate in my drawer?" I stared at him blankly. After a few seconds, I nodded vigorously. "Yeah, it was me." "So what, too?" Lin Su was stunned for 2 seconds. Then he suddenly averted his gaze and didn't dare to look at me. You already know." "What?" I didn't react. "In my previous life, I did eat the chocolate he put in his drawer. At that time, it was popular to give chocolates as a confession. When I found that chocolate, I thought it was given to him by some girl. After all, he was good-looking and smart, although his personality was a bit too cold, with the halo of a top student. He still fascinated a group of people who were attracted to intelligence. There were quite a few girls confessing to him every semester. For a moment, out of jealousy, I stole that chocolate, opened it, and ate it in a few bites. Later, when he came to ask me, I was so guilty that I refused to admit it. Then I secretly bought a chocolate of the same kind and put it back. In this new life, I decided to bravely admit my mistake. "Sorry, I ate it. Don't be angry. I'll buy you another one just like it." I didn't do it on purpose, I was just jealous. I was extremely honest, but I didn't expect that. As Lin Su listened, the tips of his ears turned red. "I'm not blaming you." He gritted his teeth and said, seeing that I still looked stupid. He seemed a bit disappointed in me. Just then, the class bell rang. He didn't look at me anymore and just sullenly said, "Forget it. If you ate it, you ate it. You don't need to replace it." Then he turned around and returned to his seat. I was left sitting there, stunned. When I turned my head, my deskmate looked at me teasingly. Yo, flirting with your little betrothed again." It was the same in my previous life. Because they knew that Lin Su and I were childhood friends, the people in the class always liked to make jokes about us. Every time I would get angry and deny it, and then Lin Su would treat me even more coldly. Ahem, I coughed twice, admitting that I used to be quite fake. I said, "What, are you jealous?" My deskmate was shocked. "Wow. Song Yang, you have such a thick skin now." Humph. Remembering that in my previous life, he had died together with those 2 people to avenge me, this touching childhood friendship, I think he likes me a little more than I thought. Thinking of this, I suddenly remembered that in my previous life, I had a big quarrel with him on the day the recommendation notice came out, and then we started a cold war that lasted for a year. Later, when I thought about it, it was probably the inferiority complex in adolescence that was at work. Lin Su and I grew up together, although there was a 2-year age difference. He was always more mature than me and accompanied me like an older brother. Until the recommendation notice came out, I had never been so clearly aware of the huge gap between him and me. It was a gap that I couldn't catch up with no matter how hard I tried. So after that day, a long cold war began between him and me. To be honest, it seemed more like I was unilaterally being petty and ignoring him. Every morning when I arrived at the classroom, he would still habitually put a bottle of warm milk on the corner of my desk. New notes would always appear in my drawer from time to time, and each subject was sorted out according to my weaknesses. On countless nights after the evening self-study, he silently pushed his bicycle and followed behind me, dispelling my fear of walking alone at night. Until a year later, I finally got into his school through my own efforts. Although I just barely made it through the admission, no one knew that on the day the scores came out, I lay on the bed crying until I was out of breath. It was a dark and arduous battle, the pressure of thousands of people competing for a single opportunity was always weighing on me, making it hard for me to breathe. On countless nights, I would break down and cry while doing my homework, but I didn't dare to waste time. So I had to do the problems while suppressing my sobs. Every time this happened, I would run to the balcony with red eyes and secretly look at the light in the study next door. He was there, so, even if I had to do my best, I still wanted to get a little closer to him. 3. Back in the senior year of high school classroom, I still didn't dare to waste a single second. In my previous life, the accident happened when I went mountain climbing with my best friend after the military training in my freshman year of college. At that time, the military training had just ended. Originally, I didn't want to go out to play because I thought I had gotten tanned, but I couldn't resist my best friend's coquetry. Besides, we were in different cities for college, and we would have fewer opportunities to meet in the future. So I agreed. Who knew that when we got there, I found out that her boyfriend, who had average grades and finally only got into a junior college, had also come along. Since we were already there, it wasn't appropriate to drive him away, so the three of us went up the mountain together. Now that I think about it, there were probably signs of what was to come. For example, every monthly exam in senior year of high school, as long as my score was higher than hers, she would lose her temper at me. Later, she would apologize to me, saying that she couldn't control her emotions because of the pressure. For example, every time she quarreled with her boyfriend, she would come to me crying. I felt sorry for her and advised her to break up. In front of me, she would agree, but then she would get back together with that jerk. And later, when she stayed out all night, she would ask me to cover for her. Another example was that every time I had a fight with Lin Su, she would spare no effort to undermine my self-esteem, constantly PUA me, and make me clearly recognize the gap between me and him, making me feel even more that I didn't deserve to confess to Lin Su. But aren't true friends supposed to wish you well and hope that you live a happy life? Such a so-called friend is not a real friend, but a ghost that aids the evildoer. So when the class bell rang and Liang Xiao rushed to my seat as she had done countless times before, skillfully took my arm, and said with a smile, "Come on. Let's go to the cafeteria quickly and help me grab the sweet and sour pork ribs." I suddenly shook off her hand without any warning. Meeting her surprised gaze, I said coldly, "Grab it yourself, I'm not going." After saying that, I didn't care about her reaction. I turned around and went to the commissary to buy a rice ball and then returned to the classroom. Right now, it's still senior year of high school, and I still have time. In my previous life, I just barely passed the admission and didn't even dare to hope for a popular major. As long as I could be admitted, it was already a stroke of luck. But now it's different. I have a top student childhood friend. After hesitating for a while, I decided to wait for him to come back at Lin Su's seat. There was no one in the classroom at the moment. When I walked to the seat, I subconsciously looked into his drawer. Then I saw that familiar packaging bag in his drawer again. It was the same chocolate as the one I had eaten. Me, damn it, who is it? 4. When Lin Su came back, he saw me holding a chocolate in one hand and a rice ball in the other, and biting into the rice ball viciously. Lin Su, he silently sat down in the empty seat next to me, took out a test paper from my drawer, and started writing. Seeing this, I was even angrier. Very well, pretending to be aloof. Damn it, I'll eat. I finished eating with one bite of the rice ball and one bite of the chocolate. I only felt the bitterness of the dark chocolate spreading from my mouth to my heart, and my mind started playing background music for myself. Let me think. Which song is suitable? At this moment, there was a sound of someone rummaging in their pocket beside me. Then a bottle of warm milk was inserted with a straw and pushed to the front of my desk. It was December, and the temperature was only a few degrees. But because it had been in his pocket, the milk was still steaming, along with his cold voice. "I never realized you liked chocolate so much before. Stop talking." I snatched the milk and took a big gulp. It took away the greasiness. "Don't worry, I'll pay you back 2 pieces. No, 4 pieces. Oh, it's okay, you can eat it," he said in an indifferent tone while doing the problems. "My dad brought back a big box when he was on a business trip, if you want to eat it. I still have some at home." Okay, you've grown up and learned to lie. Why did you bring 2 pieces of chocolate for no reason? 1 piece was for you. He stopped writing and turned to look at me. "The other piece was for you tomorrow." Damn it, playing this trick. It's kind of touching. 5. When my desk mate and her little sister came back after having lunch together, They saw me sitting next to Lin Su and listening to him explain the problems with a serious expression. My deskmate was shocked and couldn't help teasing. I woke up too early and saw Song Yang's little betrothed explaining the problems to her. I raised my head and raised my eyebrows at her. Even if you say that, I won't break up with him. My deskmate and her little sister were immediately excited. Okay, you two are a perfect match, a celestial couple. Don't break up until you have a baby. I was used to this kind of teasing and didn't take it seriously. I turned my head and wanted Lin Su to continue explaining, but I was stunned the next second when I met Lin Su's face. I saw that his usually cold and fair face was now slightly red. After meeting my gaze, he looked away evasively and didn't even notice that the pen in his hand had drawn an arc on the draft paper. Song Yang. He called my name softly, his tone a bit flustered. He opened his mouth but didn't know what to say. What's wrong? I said indifferently. Don't mind her. They just like to make such jokes. Because Lin Su always had a cold face and had the halo of a top student, usually everyone didn't dare to joke with him, and Lin Su didn't know that he had a nickname of Little Betrothed. Before, I was always in a hurry to deny it. Several times, I even tried to cover it up by loudly distancing myself from him in front of others on purpose. As a result, Lin Su became even more distant from me. I thought. After a pause, he turned his head aside, and his fingers unconsciously fiddled with the pen cap. I thought that you disliked me, so you wanted to distance yourself from me. So, he also didn't dare to show intimacy with me in front of others anymore. The warm milk on the corner of the desk every morning, the notes in the drawer organized according to my weaknesses, and the way he silently maintained a distance of 3 meters from me after the evening self-study. These were all the farthest distances he could think of to keep from me. Damn it, what an innocent puppy he is. I suddenly thought of our childhood. When I was in kindergarten, I told my mom more than once that I disliked the younger brother next door, because he walked slowly and was prone to falling. Although he was a boy, he looked like a doll and was always bullied by other children. Because of him, I got into fights with other children many times. Even so, the next morning, he would still appear in front of my house on time, carrying a small school bag and calling me sister obediently. The chubby face in my memory gradually overlapped with the boy in front of me. The genius top student in the eyes of everyone was just my childhood friend who grew up with me. When the preparatory bell for class rang, I returned to my seat. My deskmate Jiang Yuan leaned over and asked in a low voice, "What's going on? Are you two finally not having a falling out anymore?" "What falling out?" I pretended not to know what she was talking about. Okay, it's not a falling out, it's just a little trick to seduce him." After saying that, she suddenly changed the subject and said mysteriously, "Song Yang, guess what I saw?" I was so scared that I immediately turned my head to look at the back door, and then I let out a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the homeroom teacher wasn't here. "What is it?" I turned back and asked irritably. "During last week's chemistry exam, when I was helping the teacher collect the test papers, I accidentally saw Lin Su's draft paper. Your name was written all over it." If the preparatory bell hadn't already rung, she would have liked to turn into a screaming chicken and shake me with both hands. You didn't see Lin Su's reaction at that time. He was so shy and flustered. He immediately put it away and told me not to tell you. I was also a bit flustered from being shaken by her. Then why are you still telling me? Come on. What's our relationship? Besides, that's the top student Lin. You should secretly be happy, you little rascal. Hearing this, I subconsciously turned my head to look at Lin Su's seat, but the moment I met his eyes, I happened to meet his gaze. He was looking at me too. I don't know how many times it was, or maybe I was already used to it. When our eyes met, he seemed not to expect that I would suddenly turn around to look at him. Immediately, his eyes were filled with panic, and he buried his head as if to pretend to be doing his homework. I just turned back again, and the back of my ears started to feel hot. Secret love is an accidental turn of the head in class, but it just happens to meet his gaze. It turned out that he would also secretly look at me, but I completely failed to notice all of this before. Ignoring the teasing look from my deskmate, I pretended to be very busy and rummaged through the drawer to take out several textbooks, not noticing at all that this class was a self-study class. It was already 10 o'clock when the evening self-study ended. As usual, Lin Su silently pushed his bicycle and followed behind me. Just like when we went to kindergarten as children, he was 2 years younger than me and always obediently followed behind me like a little tail that couldn't be shaken off. I turned my head to look at him, and he stopped in his tracks. At a distance of 3 meters, I waved at him. "Come here, get closer." His eyes lit up, and he immediately pushed the bicycle and came over. On a winter night, he and I walked side by side on the way home. The streetlights by the roadside stretched our shadows very long. Starting from tomorrow, no, tonight you'll start tutoring me. The goal is to get into the same university as you. Yang, are you not feeling well? You want to say there's something wrong with my brain? No, there's nothing wrong with you. Then why can you get into university A, but I can't? You can. 6. Getting into University A wasn't just empty talk. With Lin Su's help, I formulated a strict study plan. In my previous life, I was only admitted with the minimum score because I performed exceptionally well in the college entrance examination and was lucky when filling out the college application form. In this new life, I want to choose my favorite major together with Lin Su, probably because God has already given me a chance to start over. It doesn't want me to cheat again. I tried my best to recall, but I still couldn't remember the college entrance examination questions that I had done once in my previous life, so without too much hesitation, I threw myself into my studies. Later, Liang Xiao came to me several times, but I fobbed her off. She thought I was still angry because she lost her temper with me after the last monthly exam. As my score was more than 20 points higher than hers that time, she still wanted to muddle through it by saying she was under too much pressure, and she said she was sorry to me. But in fact, she still didn't forget to PUA me. Although your grades have improved a lot recently, Song Yang. I'm only saying this because I consider you my best friend. There's still a huge gap between you and Lin Su. He's a genius who skipped grades and was recommended for admission. Let's not overestimate ourselves anymore. Yeah, I nodded perfunctorily. Have you finished? If so, I'm going to find Lin Su to explain the problems to me. Seeing that I completely ignored her, Liang Xiao got angry. Fine, since you don't listen to me, let's stop being best friends. She used the tactic of retreating to advance, thinking that I would coax her like I used to, unexpectedly. I nodded and turned around to find Lin Su with my test paper. With the experience of my previous life, I didn't dare to hang out with this love-struck girl anymore. I didn't ignore the flash of resentment in her eyes when she left, although I didn't know what evil she was plotting. There were only half a year left until the college entrance examination, and I didn't want to waste my precious time on her. Soon, it was January, and the final exam was approaching. Lin Su recently had to represent the school to participate in a citywide chemistry competition and had been receiving one-on-one training from the teacher these 2 days. It was snowing on the day of the competition. During lunch, I took a short break and scrolled through my phone for a while. Then I saw that my favorite milk tea shop had launched a new product. It was a winter limited edition, and I didn't even get to try it in my previous life, after all. It was already 10 o'clock when the evening self-study ended every time, and the milk tea shop had already closed. I forwarded it to Lin Su casually, and then I remembered that the competition was at 2 o'clock in the afternoon that day, and he should be about to leave at this time, so I didn't wait for his reply anymore. After returning to the classroom, I lay down on the desk and started to take a nap. In the past half-month, according to the study plan I had formulated before, I studied until 12 o'clock every night and got up at 5:30 in the morning to recite words. All in all, I only slept for 5.5 hours a day. The dark circles under my eyes are more obvious now than before. If it weren't for chewing instant coffee to keep myself awake, I'm afraid I would fall asleep during class. The heating was on in the classroom, and I soon fell asleep. In my dream, I seemed to sense that a gaze was fixed on me. I opened my eyes in a daze, and to my surprise, I saw Lin Su. We just adjusted the seats last week, and now I'm sitting by the window. Through the window glass, Lin Su, wearing a white down jacket, was standing outside, probably afraid of waking me up. He just looked at me quietly. I don't know how long he had been looking. It was all white outside, and the snow on the ground reflected the winter sunlight. His skin was very fair. He wasn't wearing a scarf, and the tip of his nose was slightly red from the cold. When he met my gaze, his eyelashes trembled slightly. I was still lying on the desk, but my right hand had already unconsciously reached out. The moment my fingertips touched the cold glass, my mind was completely awakened by the cold. I was just about to ask him why he came and didn't come in. Then I saw that he had already raised his left hand and placed it on top of my hand. His big hands with distinct bones directly covered mine. In comparison, my hand looked a bit petite. He curled his lips slightly, as if he was a bit happy. It was a world of ice and snow outside the window, but the way he looked at me was so gentle that it seemed to be able to melt the snow. Clearly, there was still a cold glass between us, but somehow I felt that my fingertips were getting a bit hot. At this moment, he suddenly leaned forward and blew a breath on the glass. Instantly, the whole glass was filled with mist, covering his face. I thought it was a bit funny and retracted my hand. I stood up, carefully walked around my deskmate who was taking a nap beside me, and went out to see him, but when I pushed open the classroom door, he had already turned around and left. In the snowy field in the afternoon, the back of the person wearing a white down jacket almost blended in with the snowflakes. On the windowsill, there was a cup of packaged milk tea left. It was the winter limited edition of the milk tea shop that I had just forwarded to him. Probably because he had kept it in his arms all the way. When I took the milk tea in my hand, it was still steaming. Did this person make a detour to the school before the competition just to give me a cup of milk tea? He didn't even say a word. He's really a man of few words. I raised the corners of my lips happily. I was just about to take the milk tea back to the classroom, but when I turned around and saw the mist that hadn't dissipated on the glass, I froze in place. On it, the two characters, Jiao, which means come on, were written stroke by stroke. The light that didn't go out in the room late at night, the alarm clock at 5:30 in the morning, packets of instant coffee that were opened, a bundle of pen refills that were used up in half a month. He saw all my efforts. He doesn't know how to say love words, nor does he confess to me. He just accompanies me to work hard together. On a winter afternoon, he stood by the window, looking at my sleeping face, and silently wrote these two words, come on, come to my side. 7. On the day when the final exam scores came out, I rushed into the top 10 of the grade for the first time. The homeroom teacher, Mr. Fong, stood on the podium, smiling with many wrinkles on his face. He congratulated me with a gratified look in his eyes. Song Yang has made great progress during this period. If this goes on, there's hope for you to get into university in next year. Everyone should learn from Song Yang. Hearing this, before I could be happy, my eyes subconsciously looked in Lin Su's direction. He was smiling. After meeting my gaze, he was stunned for a second, and then he silently mouthed the words, so great. He praised me. Then I grinned and smiled. When the other students in the class saw this scene, they all made a ee sound in unison. My deskmate Jian Yuan leaned into my ear and said as she used to, I'm so envious. I also really want to have a little childhood friend who was recommended for admission to University A to explain the problems to me. It's no use being envious. I tried to straighten my face, but the smile in my eyes still couldn't be held back. He's mine. Okay. Everyone is going to spend New Year's Eve together and welcome the new year. Remember to bring your top student Lin with you. She deliberately emphasized the word your. Hearing this, I realized that it had been almost 2 months since I was reborn. New Year's Eve. At this time in my previous life, because I was still in a cold war with Lin Su, I didn't go to the class gathering on New Year's Eve because I was afraid it would be awkward to meet him there. But later I found out that Lin Su didn't go either that night. He didn't go because he was afraid I would be embarrassed. He always seems to protect me in his own way. Quietly, after thinking about it, I extended an invitation to him on the way home. Okay, he agreed without hesitation, and then he said a bit reluctantly, but I have to go to my grandma's house first that night. Is it okay for you to go by yourself first? Am I a little kid who has to be accompanied by you? He didn't say anything and turned to look at me. I just remembered that I had indeed stuck to his side every day since I was reborn. I don't care. I'll act spoiled. 8. On New Year's Eve, I put on my newly bought clothes and went to the appointment. It snowed heavily on the way there, and I was still worried that it might be difficult to go back later, but when I got there, I found that Liang Xiao had actually brought 2 men with her. One was her junior college boyfriend Chen Fei from the previous life, and the other was her boyfriend's best friend Wang Xiang. These 2 were from the neighboring class. They usually acted like little hoodlums. Skipping class and going to the internet cafe were common occurrences, and they took turns writing self-criticisms under the national flag every month. It was just that Chen Fei was a bit good-looking and could speak some sweet words. He not only coaxed Liang Xiao around but also, in the previous life, handed me a love letter from his best friend Wang Xiang before the college entrance examination. He said it was for my own good, claiming that someone like Lin Su was beyond my reach. It would be better to be with his best friend, and then we could have a double date with our best friends in the future. I was so scared that I refused immediately, and she was even dissatisfied, saying that she had meant well. Later, when I thought about it, she clearly wanted to disrupt my state of mind before the college entrance examination. How malicious her intentions were. I thought it would be more lively with more people. So I brought 2 more people, I hope no one minds. Liang Xiao said with a smile. Hearing this, the other classmates didn't know what to say. Everyone had agreed to go Dutch before coming, and now, even for Liang Xiao's sake, it wasn't appropriate to drive them away. I didn't look at them anymore and quickly walked over and sat down next to Jiang Yuan. Jiang Yuan immediately leaned over and whispered in my ear, "Save me, it was really wise of you to break up with her. Is she hopelessly in love? I really hope she can find someone better." You're right, I pursed my lips. Those two had been clinging to each other like conjoined twins since they came in, and there was also Wang Xiang beside them, leering around at the girls in our class. When he accidentally met my gaze, he even gave me a lascivious smile as if we were very familiar. Ugh, I felt even more uncomfortable. After a while, almost everyone in the private room had arrived. So the monitor began to organize everyone to play games. The game was the classic truth or dare. Since some of the classmates in the class were still minors in senior high school, no alcohol was served at today's gathering. Those who lost could choose to drink juice or plain water by themselves. We were all classmates who got along day and night, and everyone knew which couples in the class were in an ambiguous relationship, so when playing the game, we also deliberately matched them up. For a while, there was a lot of laughter in the private room. Until I drew the ghost card that symbolized punishment, and in this round, the person who was supposed to assign the punishment happened to be Liang Xiao. Oops, what should we do? Our top student Lin hasn't come yet. The other students in the class were still joking. After all, everyone in the class knew about my relationship with Lin Su, and Liang Xiao seemed to have been ready for this. There was even a hint of excitement in her eyes. Song Yang, I'm not going to make things difficult for you. Just give a hug to the person who drew the other ghost card. As soon as these words were spoken, the people in the private room looked at each other, until Wang Xiang, who was sitting next to Liang Xiao, raised the card in his hand. After exchanging a glance with Liang Xiao, he smiled triumphantly. Sorry, the other ghost card is with me. The scene fell silent for 2 seconds, when we thought about the fact that Liang Xiao's boyfriend, Chen Fei, had volunteered to deal the cards just now. Everyone could figure out what was going on. Zhang Yang, the yellow-haired troublemaker in our class, immediately frowned and said, this guy was also a special presence in our class, because his family was wealthy. When he entered the school, his father directly donated a teaching building to the school, so even though his grades were terrible, he had dyed his hair unruly yellow, and he was often absent from class or late. Still no one dared to say a word to him. Liang Xiao. Are you fucking crazy, helping outsiders to bully our classmate? As soon as these words were spoken, the other students in the class also frowned and looked at Liang Xiao and the other two. Yeah, Liang Xiao, what's going on with you? Seeing this, Liang Xiao felt a bit intimidated, but after receiving a dissatisfied look from her boyfriend, Chen Fei, she still gritted her teeth and said, it's just a game, everyone accepted the punishment before, why can't Song Yang take it now? Yeah, it's just a hug, it's no big deal, Wang Xiang beside her said with a smile as he walked towards me. He had already opened his hands before getting close. To prevent accidental injury, I pushed Jiang Yuan, who was trying to stand in front of me, found the right angle, and had already thought about how to kick him to sterilize him. The next second, the door of the private room was suddenly pushed open. Everyone subconsciously looked towards the door. Lin Su, wearing a black down jacket, appeared at the door. When he saw Wang Xiang, who had already walked in front of me, he subconsciously frowned and quickly walked towards me. Before I could react, he had already grabbed my arm and protected me behind him. At the same time, the yellow-haired guy also suddenly stretched out his righteous hand. He pressed down on Wang Xiang, who was half a head shorter than him, and then, like pushing a row of dominoes, he also pushed Liang Xiao and Chen Fei, who were behind Wang Xiang, to the ground, making them fall flat on their faces. Are you fucking out of your mind? A toad wants to eat swan meat. The yellow-haired guy was very angry. He was a bit of a ruffian, but he wasn't stupid, and he had a very righteous heart. You look like a pumpkin. Do you think you're worthy of hugging the potential student of University A in our class? The lovebird couple fell together. The two love-struck people collided, making a sound like water splashing. Damn it, who are you? Liang Zhao's boyfriend obviously knew Zhang Yang's identity and didn't dare to talk back to him, so he covered his head and stared fiercely at Lin Su, who was standing in front of me. This guy was the one who made bombs with his own hands. I thought this in my heart and tried my best to hold back the words, "Stay away from me if you don't want to be," means, blown to death, that came to my lips. and took the initiative to affectionately take Lin Su's arm. "He's my neighbor's younger brother who grew up with me." As soon as these words were spoken, Lin Su's body stiffened a bit, but he didn't shake off my hand. And the other students in the class also realized what was going on and began to accuse Liang Xiao and the other two. Liang Xiao felt extremely embarrassed. She subconsciously wanted to take Chen Fei's arm, but Chen Fei shook her off. "Do you want to make me lose more face?" After saying that, he glared at Liang Xiao, stood up, and quickly left the private room. Seeing this, Liang Xiao immediately got up and followed him. Only Wang Xiang was still pressed to the ground by the yellow-haired guy. Meeting the yellow-haired guy's murderous gaze, he was so scared that he confessed everything. "It's not my fault." Liang Xiao said she had a single best friend and wanted to introduce her to me as a girlfriend. Hearing this, the aura around Lin Su instantly turned cold. "Just you." He only said these 3 words, but it made Wang Xiang's face turn extremely embarrassed in an instant. "Damn it, you're ugly, but you have such wild thoughts." The yellow-haired guy also kicked him angrily. At this moment, there were only people from our class in the private room. Wang Xiang knew he was in the wrong, and he didn't dare to say a word after being kicked. He just slunk away. The remaining people looked at each other, then at Lin Su, whose face was colder than usual. Everyone gave up the idea of continuing to play, and one after another advised me that it was getting late, and it was time for our top student to go to bed, so I should take him home quickly. Me. Am I some kind of dog-taming master? There was no other way. I had to lead Lin Su away. Before leaving, I didn't forget to give Jiang Yuan a look. Don't think I didn't see that she was the one who sent a message to Lin Su before the game started. Receiving my look, Jiang Yuan gave me a look that said, "Sister, I understand you." "Humph, so you're the one who understands everything, right?" I followed Lin Su out of the KTV. The heavy snow outside still hadn't stopped. On New Year's Eve, there weren't many cars on the road. "How did you get here?" I asked Lin Su. He didn't say a word, only the snowflakes on his shoulders that hadn't melted answered my question. "In the cold winter, coming all the way here from his grandma's house, it was obvious why he came." "Don't worry, I wasn't bullied." He remained silent. "You came just in time, and everyone in the class was there. They wouldn't really just watch me get bullied." He still didn't say anything. "If you're going to be sulky like this, then I'm leaving." After saying that, I turned around and walked away quickly, but before I took 2 steps, I stepped on the snow and slipped. Seeing that I was about to fall and touch the ground, I subconsciously reached out and grabbed Lin Su's arm. Seeing this, he also subconsciously grabbed me. However, the force has an equal and opposite reaction. He caught me, but he lost his balance. Moreover, the road was really slippery in the snowy weather. So with a bang, he held me in his arms, and the 2 of us fell into the snow together. The snowflakes landed on the back of my neck that was exposed. Feeling a bit cool, I stared blankly at Lin Su, who was knocked down by me. We were so close that through his glasses, I could clearly see the eyes behind them. They were as clear as water, and there was only my figure in them. Meeting my gaze, his eyelashes trembled, and he suddenly said, "So, in your heart, I'm still just the neighbor's younger brother who grew up with you, huh?" His question came so suddenly that I didn't react for a moment. I couldn't help but exhale, and the breath just hit his face, so I watched as his face instantly turned bright red. He reached out and pushed my head away, quickly stood up, and then, like picking up a large doll, he lifted me up from the snow and helped me stand firmly. He also patted the snowflakes off my body. "It's nothing." He finally spoke again and said to me in a hoarse voice, "Let's go back." 9. The way back was still extremely quiet. Lin Su's parents had gone to his grandma's house to celebrate the new year. There was no one at his home at the moment, but considering the intimate contact in the snow just now, on the way back, I belatedly understood the meaning of his words just now. My heart hadn't slowed down until now, so I didn't have the nerve to invite him to my house to celebrate the new year. The corridor of the old residential area was a bit dim. I followed him and we went up the stairs one after the other. He coughed loudly twice, and the voice-activated light in the corridor reluctantly turned on. From the 1st floor to the 3rd floor, it wasn't a very long distance, but because of the narrow corridor and the dim light, a bit of an ambiguous atmosphere was created. Until he stopped in front of my house. "Go in," he said softly. The next second, the voice-activated light just went out. In the darkness, I suddenly felt a surge of courage welling up from somewhere, so I stepped forward, reached out, and quickly pulled off the thin-framed glasses on his nose. Before he could react, I stood on tiptoe. It was just a quick touch and then we separated. The next second, I immediately turned around and didn't dare to look at him again. I stamped my foot hard. And the voice-activated light turned on again. I handed him the glasses with my back to him, and the person behind me stood there in a daze for several seconds before reaching out to take them. Then I immediately took out the key, opened the door, and rushed in. My parents were watching the Spring Festival gala sketches and laughing happily. When they heard the sound of the door closing, they just looked up at me, back. Then their eyes went back to the TV. I leaned against the door panel with my back, and my heart was pounding nonstop. Damn it, I was actually this brave. Thinking like this, I stood there and calmed down for more than 10 seconds, until I didn't hear the sound of the door closing behind me. I realized something was wrong. I turned around and looked outside through the peephole. Outside the door, Lin Su was still standing there stupidly without moving. From my perspective, I could vaguely see his red ears and side face. After a long time, until the voice-activated light in the corridor went out again, he then raised his hand and covered the side of his face that I had just kissed. In the darkness, I heard him let out a frustrated ah sound. Then he turned his head and looked towards my door. When our eyes met, even though I knew he couldn't see me, my heart still skipped a beat, so I immediately turned around and ran back to my room. I was so agile that my mom exclaimed, "What are you doing? Did you go to be a thief?" Wasn't I? I went to be a heart thief. I fell onto the bed and buried my face in the quilt, after a long time, until my face turned red from holding my breath and I almost couldn't breathe. I finally raised my head. My heart was still beating fast. Before I could calm down, my phone in my pocket suddenly vibrated twice. I took it out and saw that Lin Su had just sent me a message. "Lin Su, I'm not angry with you." The awkward tone clearly showed that he was responding to what I said at the door of the KTV just now. So cute. I didn't even realize that the corners of my mouth had raised. I was just about to type a reply to his message. Suddenly, I heard a whoosh sound outside. The next second, it was the sound of fireworks exploding. It was midnight. I wriggled and sat up on the bed. I was about to go to the balcony to watch the fireworks, but my phone suddenly vibrated twice again. "Lin Su, Happy New Year." Yang, Lin Su, good night." Outside the window, there were the sounds of one firework after another exploding, along with Lin Su's timely blessing. Countless group messages also arrived one after another, but I didn't feel like looking at them anymore. I casually threw my phone aside, turned over, and buried myself back in the quilt. I didn't need to go to the window to watch the fireworks anymore, I thought, because the biggest firework of the night had already exploded in my heart. 10. Winter passed and spring came, and soon it was the second semester of senior year of high school. There were less than half a year left until the college entrance examination. After the results of the first mock exam came out, I rushed into the top 3 of the grade for the first time. The homeroom teacher, Mr. Fong, smiled so widely that his eyes almost disappeared. "Just like last time, very good. Now it's almost certain that you can get into University A. There will be 2 outstanding students from our class going to University A." After saying that, he happily went to show off to the other teachers in the office. For a while, I became famous in the whole grade's teaching team. Sometimes when I walked on the road with Lin Su, some classmates would come over, saying they wanted to get some of the top students good luck. However, Mr. Fong hadn't been happy for a few days when Liang Zhao's parents came to the school making a scene. Just like in the previous life, after the results of the first mock exam came out, Liang Zhao's ranking dropped directly to outside the top 100 of the grade. Liang Zhao's parents had divorced due to a lack of affection in their early years, but they were very strict in disciplining Liang Zhao, their only daughter. Under their strict education, Liang Zhao's grades in the first and second years of high school were always very good. It was only when she fell in love with Chen Fei in the third year of high school that her ranking dropped. Growing up in such a family environment, Liang Zhao had also developed a character of lacking love and being selfish. She was easily coaxed by Chen Fei's sweet words. Once she was in love, she was so infatuated that not even 10 donkeys could pull her back, but I didn't expect that she would give herself to him so easily. There were less than 3 months left until the college entrance examination. She found that her period hadn't come and was afraid that she was pregnant, so she secretly bought a pregnancy test kit and planned to test it at home. As a result, accidentally, her mother caught her. What happened next completely got out of Liang Zhao's control. Her mother called her father over and forcefully took her to the hospital for an examination. Finally, when the examination results came out and it was found that her period was delayed because of the high pressure in the third year of high school, Her parents let out a sigh of relief. When they got home, they began to interrogate Liang Xiao about which classmate's house she had stayed at during the several nights she was out late, at this time in the previous life. In a hurry, Liang Xiao mentioned my name, and I also sensed something was wrong. So when her parents called, I subconsciously covered for her and said that she had stayed at my house. Her parents then didn't make a big deal out of it. In this new life, I didn't answer the call at all. The phone vibrated for a long time before it stopped. After I finished my homework, I picked up the phone and clicked into the class group to take a look. As expected, everyone was discussing that Liang Xiao's parents had suddenly called them at night. And because of the incident in the KTV before, everyone wanted to stay as far away as possible. They all said that they weren't familiar with Liang Xiao and didn't know which classmate's house she had stayed at during the night she was out late. So the next day, Liang Xiao's parents rushed to the school in a rage. What happened next was a complete mess. In the end, Chen Fei, the poor student, was directly expelled from the school because of this matter. Liang Xiao also lost all face because of this. Amid the quarrels between her father and mother, who were blaming each other for not fulfilling their parental responsibilities, she directly suspended her studies and went home to prepare for the exam. For a while, the air in the whole school became much fresher. 11. After a heavy rain, the weather gradually became hot. On campus, young boys and girls took off their thick clothes one after another and changed into light summer school uniforms. The vitality of youth could be seen everywhere. The night before the college entrance examination, everyone got together for the last carnival. The familiar song, "The Heart of a Dream Chaser," was playing on the radio. Everyone stood in the corridor and sang in unison, and casually scattered their 3 years of youth all over the campus. In the midst of the flying paper and ink, Lin Su walked through the noisy crowd and came to my side step by step. Under Jiang Yuan's ambiguous gaze, he leaned into my ear and said a word to me. He said, "Yang Yang, I'll be waiting for you at University A." With his words, in the examination room the next day, I was full of energy throughout the whole process. Finally, when the scores came out, I had an outstanding performance beyond my usual level and won the first place in the science category in the city. Throughout that entire summer vacation, I was so happy every day that I lost all sense of direction. On the day the admission notice was delivered to my home, I stood downstairs and shouted Lin Su's name at the top of my voice. And the whole neighborhood heard me. In the scene where a bunch of people pushed open their windows to watch the excitement, a familiar figure finally appeared at the familiar window on the 3rd floor. When he saw me downstairs, the corners of his lips instantly curled up, and I raised the admission notice in my hand and waved my arms cheerfully. "Look, I've been admitted to University A," I shouted happily. "We can go to University A together." Upon hearing this, all the neighbors who had pushed open their windows to watch the excitement burst into joy and congratulated me with smiles. Amid the congratulatory voices, I saw Lin Su open his mouth, and then, as if afraid that I wouldn't hear him, he raised his hands and made a trumpet shape with them by his mouth. The next moment, I heard his voice, which was more cheerful and loud than I had ever heard before. "I heard you." He curved his eyebrows and eyes and smiled more brightly than ever. "Let's go to University A together, Yang Yang." That night, Lin Su, who never posted on his social media, unexpectedly posted a status on his WeChat Moments. The caption had only 2 words, "Lin Su, congratulations." The accompanying picture showed 2 admission notices placed side by side. The golden embossed characters on them printed the full name of University A, shining brightly under the sunlight. Right after him, I also posted a status on my WeChat Moments. It was still that picture, but the caption had been changed to 2 different words, "Song Yang, same joy." When I refreshed it again, within just a few minutes, there were already a lot of comments. "Jiang Yuan, just a passerby. May I ask what kind of wedding scene this is?" "Zhang Yang, just a passerby. May I ask what kind of wedding scene this is?" "The Monitor, just a passerby. May I ask what kind of wedding scene this is?" I smiled and also left a comment below. "Song Yang, stop kidding, he's still a minor." "Yes, because he skipped 2 grades in a row when he was at school. My childhood friend Lin Su is still a minor now. This is really a sweet trouble." I put down my phone with a helpless smile. When I looked up again, I met Lin Su's slightly resentful gaze. "Are you going to call me the little neighbor brother again?" "No." I immediately put away my smile and my expression became extremely serious. "You're a candidate for my future boyfriend." "Well, the puppy is satisfied." 12. In September, It was the school opening season. I packed my luggage and set off for the school by high-speed rail together with Lin Su. Before leaving, Jiang Yuan said goodbye to me reluctantly. "I'll come to visit you at University A after the military training is over." I smiled and agreed. It's really amazing. Because of my rebirth, the study atmosphere of the whole class was driven up. In the end, even Zhang Yang, the guy with dyed hair who originally had no chance of going to university, was admitted to a junior college. On the day the scores came out, his wealthy father, in a fit of excitement, donated another library to the school, and my deskmate Jiang Yuan also had an outstanding performance in the examination room and was admitted to University Z, which was second only to University A, since it was just in the neighboring province. We made an appointment to visit each other's schools in the future. However, Liang Xiao, who took a leave of absence from school and went home to review for the exams, saw her grades plummet. In the end, her scores were only enough for her to enter a second-tier university, so her parents directly chose to transfer her to another school for repeat study. I don't know if she regretted it on the day the scores came out. In that crucial senior year of high school, she recklessly squandered her youth in that puppy love. However, all these have nothing to do with me anymore. I looked at the gate of University A in front of me and couldn't help but sigh. As expected of the top university, even the gate looks so imposing. "Come on, Yang, you and Xiaoshu stand together. Let me take a photo of you too," Lin Su's father, who came with us to register, suggested with a smile. So the two of us stood in front of the gate of University A, while raising the camera. Lin Su's father was still saying, "Okay, get closer, a little closer," in the presence of the adults. I felt a little embarrassed and took small steps to get a little closer to Lin Su. "Why don't you two give a V sign together, or pose in some way?" As the words fell, just as I was about to raise my hand to give a V sign, my right shoulder suddenly felt heavy. It was Lin Su who reached out and put his arm around me. I instinctively looked up. In the sunlight, the corners of the young man's lips curled up, and he smiled as happily as he did on the day the admission notice was delivered. When we were 5 years old, he carried his little school bag and we stood at the gate of the kindergarten. The adults smiled and asked us to get closer. He reached out and carefully grabbed my braid, calling me in a childish voice, "Sister." At the age of 18, I was admitted to his university. We stood at the gate of the university campus, and he reached out and put his arm around me, smiling and whispering in my ear, Yang, get closer, just like this, get closer, a little closer." Click, the picture was frozen at this moment. The end of the main text, extra, love daily life. 1. Song Yang and Lin Su officially got together in their sophomore year of university. Song Yang prepared a surprise for Lin Su's 18th birthday several months in advance and also asked Lin Su's roommates to keep it a secret from him. However, in the end, it was Lin Su who made the first move. Before pushing the door open, he suddenly stopped and looked at Song Yang seriously. Yang, I'm an adult today, I know, Song Yang said nervously as she looked at the door. Behind that door was the surprise she had carefully prepared for Lin Su, so much so that she missed the flash of nervousness in Lin Su's eyes. The next moment, there was still the familiar quick kiss. Then, Lin Su turned around and pushed the door open. The roommates who had been waiting behind the door immediately set off the streamers, accompanied by several bang-bang sounds. Colorful streamers fell from the sky, and everyone shouted happy birthday to Lin Su in unison. Only Song Yang, who was still standing at the door, stood there dumbfounded, covering her mouth with both hands, as if there was still a trace of the warmth from Lin Su's lips on them. Damn it, he did this again. But she was still so touched, too. During Song Yang's senior year of university, she went to an internship in a different place. The two of them had a long-distance relationship that lasted for half a year. It seemed that they had never been separated for such a long time since they were little, so when Song Yang received Lin Su's call late at night, she thought he just missed her suddenly. Yang, the math problems are so difficult, I don't know how to solve them, the person on the other end of the phone said in a pitiful tone. And the words he said made Song Yang a little slow to react for a moment. Seeing that Song Yang didn't reply, the person on the other end said softly again, "But I will work hard so that I can go to school with you." It turned out that the reason for those 2 grade skips was actually like this. Song Yang thought it was a bit funny. After coaxing him to sleep, she finally saw the message that Lin Su's roommate had sent her half an hour ago. Lin Su's roommate, little sister-in-law. Today is another roommate's birthday. We all had a little drink together. Lin Su is drunk and is shouting that he wants to see his sister. I guess the sister he's shouting about must be you, Lin Su's roommate. When others get drunk, they either fall asleep immediately or act crazy. Only this guy is shouting that he wants to go to school with his sister while doing a whole set of advanced math problems. Lin Su's roommate, it's so scary. Is this what they call the pure love warrior, Song Yang? The next day after that night, when Lin Su woke up and looked at the completed advanced math problems, he pondered for a few seconds and then turned to ask his roommate, did you guys secretly finish my advanced math problems while I was asleep? Roommate, am I crazy? Why would I grab your problems to do? 3. After graduating from undergraduate studies, both Lin Su and Song Yang were recommended for postgraduate studies at their own university. The good news is that Jiang Yuan also got admitted to graduate school here. The bad news is that Lin Su has a little mother-in-law who competes with him for Song Yang's favor. Fortunately, the little mother-in-law fell in love at first sight with Lin Su's roommate. With Song Yang's matchmaking, the two started dating not long after, so the date for 3 people became a date for 4 people. Song Yang often sighs that with such a good friend and such a partner, her life is already complete. The next moment, taking advantage of the fact that the 2 people across the table weren't paying attention, Lin Su quickly kissed her and then asked seriously, if she and I both fall into the water, who will you save first? Song Yang, I remember you can swim. 4. Lin Su had a dream, but if I had listened carefully, I should have noticed that his tone was slightly trembling when he answered the phone. When she was found, her body had already been gnawed by wild beasts and couldn't be recognized anymore, but he still recognized her at a glance. The necklace around her neck was the birthday gift he gave her when she was 16. He woke up crying from the dream, scaring Song Yang who was lying beside him. What's wrong? She leaned over and kissed his face. The next moment, she was hugged by him. He was like an insecure puppy, burying his head in her chest. Finally, under Song Yang's constant questioning, he whispered about the dream he had. Unexpectedly, after hearing it, Song Yang suddenly asked him, what if it were true? I mean, if I were really killed by